Isabella Sosa, KSL News Radio.
Our top national story this hour from ABC News. We have more details about arrests outside New York City Mayor Zoran Mamdani's home on Saturday as an anti-Muslim group rallied. 2 teenagers from Pennsylvania will likely face serious charges for allegedly bringing explosive devices to the counter-protest outside the mayor's home. ABC News chief investigative correspondent Aaron Katersky on ABC's Start Here podcast.
This all begins on Saturday with an anti-Muslim protest led by Jake Lang, this far-right provocateur, right outside Gracie Mansion, the mayor's official residence. 2 devices are thrown. At first, the police thought they were smoke bombs, but further testing, the NYPD said at least one of the devices was confirmed to have been an improvised explosive with nails and bolts and screws that could have been quite harmful, the police commissioner said.
The suspects are 18-year-old Amir Balat and 19-year-old Ibrahim Kayumi of Pennsylvania. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 489 points to 47,011. Coming up, feels like spring, looks like spring. KSL weather's coming up next. KSL News Time, 9:02.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
I know that hiring can be challenging. You need someone to match your role perfectly. Well, now you can meet them fast on ZipRecruiter.
Build your team, build it sooner. Meet your match on ZipRecruiter.
Just head to ZipRecruiter.com/free right now to try it for free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
Meet your match on ZipRecruiter. Try it free.
Hey, John, why so glum?
I just got let go. The company's downsizing. This is the 3rd time in the last 2 years. I'm done with this.
Have you thought about My Computer Career? I've heard they can train you for a career in IT in just a few months, including cybersecurity and the basics of AI. And you don't need prior training or experience. Now that's a recession-resistant career.
Wow, thanks. I'll check them out.
Go to mycomputercareer.edu and take the free career evaluation. mycomputercareer.edu, an Elite CompTIA certification partner. Financial aid is available to those who qualify, including VA benefits.
A family office is a team built to handle the 3 biggest financial responsibilities a family faces: wealth management, tax strategy, and estate planning. Most firms only manage your investments and refer the rest out, hoping everyone stays aligned. At Trajan, we built something different. Your wealth, tax planning, and estate planning are handled together inside one firm under one roof. There's no guessing whether your CPA, advisor, and estate attorney are truly in sync, because our team works together every day on your behalf. When your financial life becomes more complex, your advice should become more coordinated, not more fragmented. One plan, one trusted team. Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC-registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
Did you know your baby might need their first dental visit sooner than you think? Did you know your baby should visit the dentist after their first tooth appears or by their first birthday? Keep your family healthy. Your smile matters. Babies can get cavities as soon as they have teeth. Bad bacteria can be transferred to a baby's mouth through unwashed spoons or pacifiers. Pacifiers dipped in sugar or sweetened drinks can also cause cavities. Prevention begins by using a small, soft toothbrush and a little fluoride toothpaste. Grain of rice size ages 1 to 2 and a pea size ages 3 to 6. Practice with your baby before their first dental exam. A dental professional can give you the best advice to keep your baby healthy and smiling. If you don't have a dentist, visit YourSmileUtah.org for more information on community dental services. This message brought to you by Utah Oral Health Coalition, Utah Dental Association, University of Utah School of Dentistry, the Utah Department of Health and Human Services, and other Utah health partners. Remember, a healthy smile means a healthier life.
Your smile matters.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at UCCU.com. Steve Carlson, looks pretty rough in Utah County.
Yeah, we have huge delays. It's a slow slog on northbound 15 in Utah County right now, all due to a crash at Pleasant Grove Boulevard in Linden. It's on the right shoulder out of traffic, but those delays stretch all the way back to Center Street in Orem right now. More delays in Utah County continue. Eastbound 2100 north at 3600 west. And Pioneer Crossing pretty backed up as well at 7800 west heading over to the I-15 ramps. Steve Carlson in the KSL Traffic Center.
Okay, so weather forecast got a warm day ahead. High of 67 possible with partly cloudy skies, but a 0% chance of rain. We'll see cooler temperatures Tuesday, Wednesday, and then back up into the high 60s on Thursday. Right now it's 48 degrees in the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio. Eye on the Hill 2026. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
The Utah legislative session has come to an end on Friday at midnight-ish. But there's always some shenanigans at the end of the session. And so I have with me in studio Steve Handy, guest host today, former legislator. Steve, what happened?
Well, great to be here with you this morning. But hey, we were together on Friday morning at the Capitol, and we were talking about things that could happen. Well, here you go. Just after the clock struck midnight on Friday, lawmakers passed a bill that's now raising eyebrows on to determine if it counted, because there were a couple of votes after the clock struck at midnight, sine die, as we know. So it could the bill, to remind the listeners, could set up a pathway for cities to break off from Salt Lake County, kind of a secession bill situation.
It's so funny.
But the final two votes on the Senate floor didn't come until after the clock struck midnight, the time the legislative session legally comes to an end, 45 days, and you can hear the commotion in the Senate chambers while the Senate President Stuart Adams declared that the bill passed.
And will be returned to the House for the further. Returned to the House for their consideration.
You could hear them saying it's after midnight.
Chaos.
So a Senate spokesperson defended the decision to pass it, saying the bill had 15 necessary yea votes at 11:59. So my question for you, and we can talk about it, is does that matter?
Well, I mean, laws are laws and rules are rules, and the legislature can do a lot of things. But I told you this funny story that when I was at the University of Utah, we had a legislative thing with students, and we played legislator, and we ran out of time, and so we had a funny little thing. We went and guy got his coat and covered the clock.
Right.
And so that didn't happen. But it's going to be really interesting to see what the legal people say about this. But in my mind, I don't see how that bill could have passed.
You know, when the president declares the bill the votes have concluded, basically he's the last person to cast a vote. Up until that point, senators could have changed their vote at any time.
Yeah, there is a process, as you and I both remember. You lock the speaker or the president, they lock the board.
Right.
And the board was still open, apparently, and they could have changed their votes, and that happens.
It seems like at the very end, when you're trying to scramble through things, I don't know that people would have changed their vote. But in any case, I guess my question is, well, so what happens? I guess the governor could veto.
The governor could veto or just ignore it. Or
well, if he ignores it, it goes into law.
Or if he ignores it, it goes into law, as we know. But this is very, very interesting.
Yeah. I remember a legislative session where they were getting close, and I guess they had decided they had discussed all the bills they were going to. And I remember legislators, especially senators, standing up, and they started to talk like this,
like that.
Just so they could get the clock right up to midnight without having to take on another bill. So
Shenanigans.
So that bill, interestingly enough, would set up a process for basically Southern Salt Lake County to secede from the county and set up their own county.
Right. This has been talked about. I remember when I was there, it talked about it and tried maybe a time or two. But and again, why did you wait till 11:59 to move this? It was a House bill, And I guess they just decided, no, you know what, we're going to do this. And
Yeah,
we're
I think
try
they were
this
just trying to get it through at the end. And, every year there's always bills that died that were good bills that had broad support or broadish support at least, and then they don't make it through all the way to the end. So we're going to talk about another bill in the next segment, but was there anything else that really caught your eye for last day stuff?
Well, I was, I'm going to say I'm really proud of the legislature there was a lot of really bad bills that died, that didn't make it. And of course, at the start of the session 45 days ago, there's always a big, what are the controversial bills and everything like that, and the media likes to report on that, and the readers and the listeners like to know about that, and I'm really pleased that a lot of what I thought were bad bills about immigration and some other things and voting,
a lot of them died.
They died.
Yeah,
and I think that's good.
When we were on the Hill on Friday, you and I were talking about how many bills were going to pass that day, and when we started the morning, there had been 377 bills that had already been passed all the way through, and by the time midnight hit, there were 541 bills. So a good chunk over 100 bills, more than 150 bills passed on the last day of the session.
They moved it, and they have a procedure, as we both know. They have a procedure that and particularly the Senate, they can move really fast if they want to.
Yeah. Yeah. So, again, it's an interesting process where you have, what is that? Not quite a third of the bills pass on the last day.
Yeah. Not quite a third.
Yeah. And that 541, by the way, is a lower number than it has been for the last few years. So I guess good for them.
I guess good for them. And of course, there was a bill that was supposed to limit the number of bills. That didn't pass.
It didn't even get out of rules.
Didn't even get out of rules.
That bill's like, how dare you try to restrict our ability?
Everyone from the governor to leadership, restrict your bills, keep your bills to about 3. Remember, we talked to Senator Weiler, and he had 30 bills.
I know. He said, I only run good bills.
30 bills. Okay.
Yeah.
All right,
30
whatever.
good bills.
Good bills.
Also, we set a new record, and when I looked at the legislative website Friday night, there were 1,016 bills that had been drafted, numbered, and introduced. So 1,016, and they passed just over half of those.
Just over half of those.
Yeah, but a bunch of them didn't even get discussion. So
it's a massive effort.
Anything else that stood out to you? We only have about a minute left, and then we'll talk some more in the next segment.
Well, I think, and you and I were trying to figure this out. It was a last-minute bill where the state of Utah is going to allow or sell for $60 million up in the Bird River Refuge.
State lands,
some of the lake bed of the Great Salt Lake to the feds that will then go into the Bear River Bird Refuge. Thank you, and. That's really interesting. I'm not really quite understanding that. But it was a last-minute thing because always, federal government, you've got too much of our land. Keep your hands off our land, and yet this is about allowing more water into the Great Salt Lake. Very complicated stuff, but anyway, I don't quite understand it.
Yeah, that one was really interesting to me too. And I would say we talked with Senator Minority Leader Luz Escamilla about her Gavin Peterson bill.
Yeah, and
she was hopeful that maybe it could be resurrected. It was not. And it's the second year in a row that she has run a bill like that. It's coming out of a task force trying to find the right balance with keeping kids safe. I was surprised and not surprised, I guess, but a little disappointed, right? Because I think knowing that there's a problem and you can't see the child for a year, it seems to me like there should be some way to fix that. Well. She'll probably try again.
She'll try again. I'm sad about that one, too.
Yeah. When we come back, we're going to talk about another bill that was not only kind of pushed through and altered at the very end of the night on Friday, but it has already been signed into law by the governor and takes immediate effect.
Let's talk about that one.
We'll talk about that when we come back after the break.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code ENJOY to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Since 1947, Whipple Service Champions has been Utah's most trusted name for heating, cooling, plumbing, and electrical services. Got a high-priced repair bill from another company and you're just not sure about it? Call Whipple. Get a free, no-pressure estimate or bring us their quote for an honest second opinion. Totally free. Whipple Service Champions, Utah's first place for second opinions since 1947. Call 385-273-7167 for your free estimate today. 385-273-7167.
Every day here in Utah, people turn to KSL News Radio for one simple reason: trust. Trust for our reporters, hosts, our coverage, and trust in the businesses heard right here. I've met so many of our listeners over the years, and they'll tell you KSL is part of their daily routine, in the car, at work, at home. And when they hear your business here, it carries the weight of that trust. It isn't just another ad. It's a recommendation coming from a reliable source. When you advertise on KSL News Radio, you reach a loyal, highly engaged audience who listens intentionally. They show up for breaking news, accurate information, and meaningful conversations. And because of that connection, they respond. And when you pair our on-air credibility with digital tools like display advertising, social media, streaming audio, search, geo-targeting, and retargeting, you get a full funnel strategy that works and reaches the right people at the right time. Get marketing that truly moves the needle. Partner with the voice Utah trusts. KSL. Learn more at kslnewsradio.com/advertise.
You can't escape a traffic jam. Know what else you can't escape? Seasonal allergies. And you might think you can avoid that coffee stain until... Oh, really? You can't escape a lot of things in life. But you can escape prediabetes. Prediabetes captures 1 in 3 adults. There are usually no signs of prediabetes. In fact, most people don't even know they have it. But with early diagnosis, you can change the outcome and prevent or delay type 2 diabetes. Take action by taking the 1-minute risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. You might not be able to escape having this song stuck in your head, but you can escape prediabetes. Go to doihaveprediabetes.org today. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
Over the years, you've brought them into your home. You were prescribed opioids after the C-section, when Dad injured his back, when your basketball star tore his ACL. Opioids helped with the pain, and you held on to them just in case. But did you know holding on to unused opioids puts your family at risk? Opioids are powerful pain-reducing prescription medicines, but most people who are prescribed opioids don't finish their prescriptions. So millions of unused opioids are sitting in homes across the country. And tragically, more than 100 Americans die every day from overdoses involving opioids. What can you do to protect your family? Remove the risk of unused opioids from your home. Pills, patches, or syrups in drawers, purses, and cabinets, anywhere they might be hiding. To find out how to dispose of them properly, visit www.fda.gov/drug disposal.
I'm a pretty great multitasker. I can wash dishes and do laundry. I can roller skate while walking my dog. I can even order lunch while doing my homework. But I can't use my phone while driving. A distracted driver is one of the leading causes of death in the United States. So when it comes to driving, please, don't be a multitasker.
Don't drive distracted. A message brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, Project Yellow Light, and the Ad Council.
Eye on the Hill 2026. Special coverage on Inside Sources.
I'm Holly Richardson, and Steve Handy is in studio with me today. And Steve, we're just wrapping up the legislative session for our listeners, and one of the bills that we wanted to talk about happened again the last hour of the session.
Right.
And it was a bill that would have a direct impact on the Proposition 4 battle.
Exactly.
Do you want to set that up for our listeners?
Yeah, let me see if I can do that. So basically, we know that there's an effort from all indications. The removal of Prop 4 has achieved the enough signatures and the 26 and 29 counties. However, there is an effort from the opposition, Better Boundaries, to allow people to remove their signatures. And so they have done this with identifying who has received, who has signed, then sending them a postage-paid notice that they can then quickly sign and send to their county clerk that's postage paid. And so the legislature put the brakes on that with a last-minute bill that Governor Coxon signed at about 2 a.m. Saturday morning. That then prohibits that postage-paid signature removal.
Yeah.
That's what the bill essentially does, Holly.
Yeah, that's right. And so it was Senator Brady Brammer who added in that last-minute amendment.
This creates an immediate effective date. It deals with problems related to prepaid postage. It does not allow prepaid postage.
So exactly what you said, right? So this, again, it was really a question because there's an ongoing lawsuit right now, or I guess it's a fairly new lawsuit, but saying you cannot pay somebody for their vote, arguing that a stamp was in somehow a way to pay people for their asking to get their signature removed. In any case, it's now illegal.
It's now illegal, and Governor Cox was on board because he
signed it
He
immediately.
had his pen ready to go.
He did, and what that means if somebody today sends that in with the postage stamp provided by the other organization,
it's invalid.
It won't count.
It won't count.
It won't
It's
count. They
invalid.
won't
It's
remove
invalid.
it. Okay, so I don't even know. I guess you have to get another envelope and address it yourself and put your own stamp on it for it to
I
count,
guess that's it, or hand carry it.
or
That's
hand
exactly
carry it.
right.
Yeah. So the process to remove your name is actually quite difficult, and you can't just do it electronically. You can't file some kind of motion over the computer. You have to send a physical document into the county clerk. So that it's just a little harder again. So anyway. I wanted to talk about some AI bills too. One that didn't make it, and several that did. Have you been following Representative Fiafia's bill?
Yeah, very interesting too. Here's an individual who comes from out of big tech. He had some success in the previous session, the 2025 session, kind of a superstar in AI and technology. And so he brings this bill that would regulate artificial intelligence platforms that would ensure child safety. And I think we're all in favor of that. There's difficult ways and different ways to get there. And of course, the governor and the legislature have been working on this for several years. And even that the Golden Globe nominated actor Joseph Gordon-Levitt came to the Capitol and got a lot of publicity. He testified in favor of the bill that required AI developers to create plans to protect children. But the White House weighed in on this and said, we don't like this bill.
And they killed it. Yeah.
So in a close vote in the Senate about stifling innovation, that was the argument. This stifles innovation. Very interesting, huh? Really interesting.
Yeah, and I think it's an unusual argument to make on a bill in a state where we have been very clear as a state with the legislature and the attorney general and the governor saying we need guardrails on these tech companies. So we're talking social media, we're talking, AI generated images. That was a different bill, but very strong opinions in the state of Utah until it comes from AI, and the state had said, we want to put these guardrails on. And if you remember, part of the One Big Beautiful Bill that passed in the summer and was taken out was the federal government saying we're going to control all regulation for AI. So our Utah and other states were able to convince the White House to take that part out before the bill passed. And then the president issued an executive order saying the feds are going to be in charge of all AI regulation. And I guess they meant it because they were able to kill a bill in a state of Utah that believes in limited government and states' rights. The White House killed a bill.
Pretty curious. I've never seen anything like this before. And that just, I guess, there are lots of takeaways here. You take your own.
It is interesting.
Your own assumption, but yeah.
There is another bill, and this one was won by Representative Fay, and Senator Musselman was the Senate sponsor. But basically what this bill would do is specific to child sex abuse materials and AI generated, right? And so this one would make it a crime, of course, to really crack down on this type of activity. So
yeah, that's it.
That was one of them.
That's a good one.
They also did another one, and this is another DeFay bill that would enact what she called the Digital Voyeurism Prevention Act. Again, deep fake protection. So it was this bill would basically say you can't make intimate images through AI of somebody without their consent. So if there is an adult who consents to it, you can do it, but otherwise you cannot do it. And she was explaining to us how you can track the change history of an image. So you can take an image of somebody who's fully clothed and then tell AI to make it inappropriately explicit, and that you'd be able to track that. So I think that's interesting too, and that bill passed as well.
Yeah, it did. Yeah.
Okay, so any other bills? We could talk about education bills that were interesting to you. We know that the bell-to-bell ban passed, and that is K through 12. That bill passed, and basically it tells school districts that your baseline is the state telling you a bell-to-bell ban, and that means no phones in the hallways, and it's all smart devices. So this can include smartwatches, etc. So no smart devices during the hours of school, from the time the very first bell rings to the last bell rings. But school districts, if they want to, can decide that they need some variation on that.
Yeah, I'm very curious about what the LEAs will do. What do we have? 41 school districts, something like that. 41, maybe 42. They've been some splits. But anyway, that they will be able to implement their own policies if they want. And, of course, Governor Cox is a big champion of this, and this has been around for a couple of years, and the governor got behind this and other legislators, and I kind of have mixed emotions about it. I have grandchildren in school. The devices are very critical to their learning as well, but they're an incredible distraction. So it's one of these things that we'll see how it goes.
There's also another bill on technology in the classroom. Again, Representative Fay, I guess we're giving her lots of love today. She had a bill that would limit technology, especially in the K through 3 grades. But that part is an interesting discussion, because as the kids get older and in going up through junior high and high school, all of their homework assignments, it's all submitted electronically.
Absolutely right.
You don't handwrite your assignments anymore.
Long gone.
It's one of the issues, what is the right balance, right? Because we do want kids to learn, we want teachers to be able to teach. We don't want an over-reliance on technology, especially not AI. We don't want AI writing all of your high school essays. Thank you very much.
Yeah, clearly.
And yet we also have a system now where everything's submitted online.
Yeah, there's some real contradictions here in public policy and what the public wants, and we're all trying to figure it out. I don't know that we really know.
Well, and again, one of the things with social media, and you and I were around when it came into existence, it became a thing. I was an early adopter of Facebook, Twitter. I was on in 2008. I wasn't the very first, but I was on in 2008. And at the time, it was like, ooh, this is so great. You can have public citizens, and it used to be called new media, and now it's just social media. But one of the things that was interesting, and this is something that we've heard from the legislature, is you have these new technologies come out, and we didn't realize what it could turn into, right? We didn't know that Instagram would turn into a place where girls can start having body dysmorphia as young as 5 years old, and they're getting these messages that their bodies are not enough, and maybe suicidal ideation. We had no idea
and
when it came out.
The sexting is what is this?
Right. So I think the Utah legislature is trying to get on top of put some guardrails around this technology and not let it get out of hand. Speaking of getting out of hand, let's talk about the measles, because measles are continuing to spread across the state, and the Utah State epidemiologist is going to join us in studio next to tell us what we need to know to protect our families.
I'm looking forward to this discussion.
All right, stay with us.
9:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. The first commercial nuclear reactor to operate in Wyoming was officially approved by the U.S. Nuclear Regulatory Commission. and it will sit around 130 miles northeast of Salt Lake City. The reactor will be built by Bill Gates' company TerraPower. Commission member Scott Burnell says it'll give power to the entire Mountain West, including here in Utah, and because it's such a big decision, it underwent months of reviews.
We are following guidance from Congress and from the White House to conduct our reviews as efficiently and as effectively as possible.
He says the plant will be built next to a coal-fired plant that's in the process of closing. An Orem meeting house for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints canceled services yesterday after the fire sprinkler system malfunctioned. It was originally thought to have been a break-in or potentially vandalism, but the church officials say it was just the work of a faulty sprinkler. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. In Los Angeles, shots fired into the home of a music star while she was at home. Here's ABC's Sophie Flay.
Terrifying moments at the home of singer Rihanna. Authorities say the 38-year-old superstar was home in her Beverly Hills mansion when a woman drove up to the house and opened fire.
Two shootings just occurred, approximately 10 shots heard. EPR believes the shots came from across the street.
Officers say a woman in a Tesla started shooting an AR-style weapon around 1:15 in the afternoon. Multiple bullet holes visible in the side of Rihanna's home. We're told none of the bullets penetrated.
No one was hurt, and the female suspect is in custody. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 373 points. It's recovered a little bit from its deepest drop a couple of hours ago, but the Dow is still at 47,127. Coming up, still got some big delays in Utah County and a warm week. We'll check traffic and weather next. KSL News Time, 9:32.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I've recently seen two just delightful plays at Hale Center Theater. One is called Peter Pan Goes Wrong. When a local drama company stages Peter Pan, the stalwart thespians and crew face about any disaster or mishap that you can imagine, and their distress and their consternation fuels our delight and laughter. This is so much fun, and I challenge you not to laugh. And plus, my favorite radio station even gets a nod in this ill-fated production. And then, on the brand new Beehive stage, two local playwrights, Fox and Dietline, have a brand new musical, Hallmarked. It includes tidbits of every Hallmark movie plot you have ever seen. A young woman heads to Vermont to save a floundering reality cooking show, but she's determined not to be Hallmarked. You're going to love the play. You're going to love the music. Get your tickets at hct.org. Don't forget, Hunchback of Notre Dame coming up on March 9th.
Who is Farm Bureau Financial Services? At our core, we're relationship builders. We're home and auto bundlers, life insurers, farm and ranch protectors, and retirement planners. We're neighbors, community members, and friends. We're the people you can count on now and for years to come. Find a Farm Bureau agent at fbfs.com/protect. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company, Farm Bureau Life Insurance Company.
Wesley is a truck driver.
I drive a truck, and I love what I do.
A truck driver with IRS troubles.
They told me I owed them $43,000.
It got really bad.
Quite a few letters in the mail. They were talking about wage garnishment, coming after my house, my car. Yeah, they don't play around. I seriously thought that I was going to lose everything.
One sleepless night, Wesley finally made a call to Optima Tax Relief at 2 a.m.
Kind of figured I'd get a machine, but I didn't. I actually got to talk to an actual person in the middle of the night.
He found just what he was looking for.
Oh, they were great people. You need a team of people that know what they're doing. Optima Tax, they know what they're doing.
Optima Tax Relief came through with flying colors.
I saved an incredible amount of money. Happy don't even come close. I was absolutely overjoyed.
Take Wesley's advice.
If you're in any kind of trouble with the IRS, call Optima Tax Relief. Don't trust anybody else.
Call Optima for a free consultation. Call 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460. 800-343-6460.
Optima Tax Relief.
Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Gear up for adventure at the Utah RV Super Show. Whether you're outfitting a new rig or upgrading your current setup, you'll find awnings, hitches, solar panels, camping gear, and more. Shop top brands, talk with experts, and explore the latest 2026 RV models all under one roof. The Utah RV Super Show takes over the Mountain America Expo Center Thursday, March 19th through Sunday, March 22nd. Learn more at UtahRVSupershow.com. That's UtahRVSupershow.com.
KSL News Time 9:35. Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Direct deposit gets you $300. Love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
We are still looking at a crash northbound I-15 in Utah County just before Pleasant Grove Boulevard, causing those heavier delays that are reaching back almost to 800 north. And that's really your only major issue. We do have a crash in Sully County on southbound I-15 just after 7200 south. They're blocking that left shoulder. Doesn't look like there's delays behind them though, so just be careful and be kind. Give them the space as you get around them. Thirsty for better water? Culligan has you covered, from softeners and filtration to bottle-free coolers and bottled water delivery. Trusted local experts make water taste amazing. Visit CulliganSLC.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast. Boy, after Saturday feeling a little bit cold at times, now we're looking at a high of 67 degrees today. Tomorrow it'll cool down to the high 50s, and by the weekend, though, we'll be up in the 70s. Right now, it's 50 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at KSLNewsRadio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Hello, everyone. This is Steve Handy. I'm guest hosting today with Holly. Greg Skordas is out. And we're very pleased to have in studio with us Dr. Leisha Nolan. She is the state epidemiologist. And she's here to talk to us about this measles outbreak in the state of Utah. So what's going on, Dr. Nolan? Welcome.
Thank you. Unfortunately, we are continuing to see measles expand across our state. We're seeing more parts of our state have people diagnosed with measles and continue to see people get sick with this infection.
Can you talk to us, because I think most of our listeners are maybe people who got vaccinated as kids, right? Our age, maybe, Steve.
Yeah, exactly.
And we're not really familiar with what measles is like symptomatically, what it does to us. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah, I know. A lot of us grew up in an age where there was no measles, so
Right.
we don't know what this is like. And I have to say, it is a severe infection. I was really impressed. I went down to one of the hard-hit communities in southern Utah and talked to community members who had this, had their kids have this. And they were telling us really severe stories about how sick they got. People were having fevers up to 105. That's not 100.5. That's 105.
That's to get to the hospital.
Yeah, it's scary temperatures, and it was routine. We were talking to the clinicians down there about how sick these people look. And we do see people having to go to the hospital, some people even in the ICU. So this is not just a cold, it's not a chicken pox, it's not what we're used to. This is a really severe infection.
Wow. You're quoted in the news conference that you had on Thursday. I want to read this. It said a number of them clearly said, meaning parents, if they had known, they would have vaccinated themselves and their children against measles, but they didn't realize how bad it was. I guess that's exactly what you're talking about, Dr. Nolan.
Yeah, right. And that community specific was like, we want to tell our story because we want other people to make choices with that information in mind, to know how bad this is. And so we're working with them to try to get stories from them about what happened to them, what was like, and so that other people can understand and really have that information as they're making choices about how to protect their family.
So can you talk to us about this outbreak? Is it specifically in a few counties in the state? Is it isolated to a specific age group? What does it look like?
Yeah, it used to be that it was in the southwest of Utah, and we were saying that for a few months. But unfortunately, over the last probably 2 months now, we're seeing it pop up throughout the whole state. We are getting people sick in really every region of Utah. And then in terms of ages, we are seeing pretty much everybody of all different ages get affected. We know that we're getting little kids get infected. We have had many little kids under 5 get infected. We know about 10% of them end up in the hospital. And then those teens, we're getting a lot of teens. And again, they actually end up in the hospital. About 6% of the teenagers end up in the hospital. And then we also see in older people. The one age group we don't see many people getting it with is people over 65. And we think that's probably because they are all vaccinated, because at that time period when they were little, they either got vaccinated or maybe they were old enough to actually have measles.
So let me ask you just to follow up with that. My daughter was a coach at a wrestling tournament where there was a spread. She didn't get it. She is vaccinated. What are we seeing with some of these larger public gatherings? Is it still like, what precautions do people need to take?
Yeah. Well, certainly the best precaution is vaccination. That's really what it is that can stop this infection. Beyond that, there's not great protections against measles. It would be avoiding people who have it and things like that, but unfortunately it's not always obvious who has measles. People can spread measles before they have the really, really strong symptoms, so therefore it's hard to say just avoid the people with measles when it's sometimes sneaky.
Dr. Nolan, I mean, we're all familiar with COVID, how COVID spread and spreads. Does measles spread the same way? I mean, is it contact? Is it touching someone and then putting your fingers in your mouth or around your mouth? How does it spread?
Yeah.
Coughing?
Well, actually, measles is thought to be the most infectious disease out there. So actually even more easy to spread than COVID. It's the kind of thing you have one person with measles walk into a room where other people aren't vaccinated, and really pretty much everybody who's not vaccinated in that room is going to get measles. And so it is just exceptionally infectious. And it's mostly airborne, so you don't even need to touch anything. It's just moving through the air.
It's just moving through the air, coming from the person who's infected.
So we do have a question from one of our listeners, and they want to know if they did have measles as a child, do they need to get vaccinated later in life?
No, that is one thing that's fortunate, is measles is one of those things that makes your body immune the whole time. Okay. So if somebody had measles when they were a little kid, they don't need to get a vaccine.
So where are we at with the number of cases in the state of Utah right now?
So we reported last week that we have 358 people who've been infected over the weekend. I'm sure we've added a few more. So we put out our numbers every Tuesday. So we'll give you an update tomorrow. But unfortunately, over the last few weeks, we've had a increase every week, and I expect that to continue, unfortunately, for a little while.
So that's reported out to the county health departments. That then is coming into the state. I assume that's how you're getting the data.
Yeah. So actually in Utah, we have a good system where we pull data directly from the clinical laboratories that do testing, and so there's certain diseases that are legally reportable to us.
Yeah.
And measles is one of those. So if a laboratory tests for measles and it comes up positive, it automatically comes to us. So we get most of our information through that. Sometimes there's a clinician who calls us and is like, I think this is measles, even before that test is back. And then we work with them to really try to protect that person, protect the people around them, even before we have the confirmatory test.
Can you talk to us about what early symptoms might be like? You said we can be contagious even in the early stages. What is that like?
Yeah. Usually people start out with a fever, a cough, red eyes, runny nose, which unfortunately sounds a lot like all the other things going around right now. But those kind of symptoms usually go on for about 4 days. The fever is pretty high. And then after that is when the rash comes out. And that's when we find most people suddenly realize, oh, this isn't just the flu or a cold. This is something else. And so it's a rash that comes out that really prompts them to go to the doctor and get care. If not, the high fevers.
Wow, maybe around day 5 before you see the rash.
It's usually day 4, but something like that.
Okay. Is there a medication to treat it, or is it just you'd have to rest and take care of yourself? It's just going to run its course.
Yeah, unfortunately, there really isn't a medication to treat it. It is, if somebody gets really sick, most often people will need oxygen and IV fluids to keep from dehydrating. But otherwise, even if you go to the hospital, it is just what we call supportive care. There's no magic medicine to get rid of it.
So we only have about a minute left, but I wanted to ask specifically about women who might be pregnant and maybe have the measles. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it is really concerning when people get measles while they're pregnant. We know measles can cause spontaneous abortions, losing the baby. So certainly very concerning with that. And then also we're very concerned when people have measles and the baby is born, because then they can give that baby measles right when they're coming out. And that babies get really sick with this, have really bad infections that sometimes lead to long-term consequences for the child.
Okay, so one final really quick question. What do people need to know about getting vaccinated if they're not?
Yeah. So certainly this vaccine's been something that's been used for decades. I certainly got it when I was a kid. Most Utahns have gotten it. Around 90% of Utahns have gotten this vaccine. It's really been well proven, well studied. It has years of evidence of how safe it is. So it's something that I would highly recommend people talk to their doctor about. This is the way to protect yourself against measles. Unfortunately, there's no other magic way to stop it.
I think we all got vaccinated while we were in elementary school. I think it happened in school, maybe.
Yeah, that was.
It
did. Back in the day, that's what you did. Like everybody just lined up and got it.
Lined up and got vaccinated. There you go.
Thank you,
Dr.
much.
Nolan.
Yeah, Dr. Nolan, Utah State epidemiologist. And when we come back, we're going to pivot to Iran. They have a new supreme leader, and it is the hardline son of Khomeini.
Yes.
We're going to talk about that when we come back.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
KSL offers the best daily newsletter in the state. It's the 3 things you need to know. Every weekday, we deliver quality and relevant content to your inbox. No ads, no spam. Just the 3 things you need to know to be informed about the world around you. Subscribe today. Visit KSLNewsRadio.com or text the word inbox to 57500. That's inbox to 57500.
It's time for March Window Mania. From Advanced Window Products, bounce on over to your phone and they'll give you $2,500 off your quote on 10 windows or more. Get the Home Court Advantage. They'll build your windows right here in Salt Lake City, custom for Utah's climate, and you save because they sell direct to the public, no middleman. It's a new season. Spring is here, and when it comes to state-of-the-art custom windows and insulated frames, Advanced Windows is top-seeded, so put them at the top of your bracket and make the call 801-850-9100. You'll get $2,500 off from the family-owned champion since 1986. For 40 years, they've been building and installing replacement windows. Don't wait for the draft to come seeping through your old windows. They'll save you a ton of money on your energy bill, and Advanced offers financing as low as $150 a month. It's the March Window Mania special. Quick, before the buzzer, make the call 801-850-9100. That's 801-850-9100 or visit advancedwindows.com.
Meet Morgan Jones. Morgan is about to step into a world unknown to most thanks to Progressive's Renters Insurance, a place of fresh linens and turn-down service. You see, Morgan temporarily vacated her apartment and has gone to a hotel because a pipe burst in her apartment. A pipe that made her sense of reality and apartment ceiling all come crashing down. Luckily, Morgan checked into Progressive's Protection Zone. Get a quote at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company affiliates and third-party insurers.
Why'd I go to the doctor? Working on the farm, my heart kept skipping a beat. I didn't think much of it, but my daughters made me get checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
I was in foot pain for 20 years, trying to give it relief, buying all these different insoles. Drugstore insoles, custom insoles. I spent thousands of dollars. I bought all these products, and not a single one worked. I really, truly needed to have relief in my feet. And the Good Feet Arch supports were what gave me the relief I needed.
For over 20 years, we've been helping people like Teresa,
actually live the life they love without their feet getting in the way.
They wanted to make sure that I got something that my feet felt good in, not somebody else's feet. I love the fact that I can wear these arch supports in all my shoes. I have boots, I have cowboy boots, I have running shoes, I have walking shoes, I have flat shoes, I have heels. It makes me so happy. If you ask my husband, he will crack up because there is no store I would rather go in than a shoe store. I'm Teresa, and that's my Good Feet story.
See what we can do for you with a free personalized arch support fitting at the Good Feet store.
We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
And expanded Inside Sources.
So it's only been just over a week since the United States and Israel sent missiles into Iran, and we ended up taking out the leader of the country, Khomeini. And we now have a new supreme leader, and that is, let's see, Mojtaba Khomeini.
Khomeini. Yeah.
He's 56,
Uh-huh.
right? And he has the reputation for being even more of a hardliner than his dad, which my question is, how is that even possible?
How can you be to the right of Attila the Hun?
Right, exactly.
I mean, I don't
Exactly.
know. This is very... All we know is what we're reading. We don't know, and that's why we have our guest on.
That's right.
To enlighten us.
Before we get to our guest, though,
Yeah.
I do want to say President Trump has said he does not approve of this pick from Iran.
Yeah,
The president had said that this would be unacceptable, and he called him a lightweight last week. But this is already moving forward, and the Iranian regime clearly is not paying any mind to the president's comments about their next leader. The president told our Mary Bruce yesterday that the Iranians needed to have a leader that was approved by him, and if that didn't happen, the next leader was not going to last long.
I'm not sure what that means, not last long, but in any case, President Trump is not impressed with this pick.
Well, it's not going to last long if he doesn't find a very, very deep bunker.
That's right. So now we do have a guest.
All right, let's hear from our guest. This is University of Utah law professor, and you've had him on many times before. This is Amos Giora.
Giora.
Thank you, Holly.
No, and thanks for joining us, Amos.
Thank you for having me.
What can you tell us about this new leader in Iran?
Well, obviously, he was not, I want to assume, President Trump, one of three choices, which I didn't understand that whatsoever. By all measures and accounts, the son is more extreme than the father. I don't know if he has the support, the backing that the father had. It's clear that he's going to be under attack immediately. I assume it's only a matter of time before whether it's the Israelis or the Americans who try to kill him as part of this war. But what is, I think, the issue that needs to be addressed is a week ago when we first spoke, we talked about regime change as I understood to be one of the motivation strategies behind this, frankly, ill-defined war. And if the son has replaced the father, then that is not regime change whatsoever. And I think raises significant questions as to the purpose of this, B, the definition of this, and how long does this continue with, I think you all know, right, I commute between here and Israel. Israel's getting hit throughout the day, north, south, in the central part of Israel, because the Iranians, in spite of Trump's declaration of victory, and the Secretary of Defense's declaration of victory and the press secretary's declaration of victory, I don't think for Israelis there's at all whatsoever a sense of victory here. This is beyond problematic. And with respect to your question regarding this new leader, one doesn't sense that he's going to say, hey, yeah, you guys won, and let's call it a day. I don't think that's not in their DNA whatsoever.
Yeah, my perspective is that Amos is that the Iranians are digging in their heels, and that's putting it very, very basic and very, very straightforward. But they're digging in their heels. I saw on Meet the Press Kristen Welker interviewing one of the Iranian ministers yesterday morning, and he was, of course, going back and forth, and she asked him about this individual, and he wasn't going to say on national TV, but clearly the Iranians are not giving up, are they?
No, more than that, they've been able to loop into the war the terrorist organization Hezbollah, which is based in Lebanon, which is the reason that northern Israel is under constant firing, not from Iran or maybe from Iran and Hezbollah, central Israel, Tel Aviv and so on, being hit by the Iranians, as is southern Israel. But the fact that Hezbollah has re-engaged raises very serious questions about this. Now, on the other hand, Iran and the Arab world are clearly also engaged in conflict, because remember, the Iranians are Persians, and there's a long battle between them and the Arab world. But again, with respect to the initial question you asked, the new Iranian leader, to more extreme than his father, doesn't make him more effective, just makes him more extreme. And with respect to the strategy, I've heard articulations, again, by Secretary of State, Secretary of Defense, and the President. I think, like many others, not exactly clear, A, what the strategy is, and then what the exit strategy is.
What are your friends? So you're in touch with your colleagues and your family, probably in Israel. And when are you going back there? Number one, but number two, what are you hearing from Israelis?
So I'm in touch with my family probably, if there were 30 hours in a day, then 30 hours in a day. I won't bore you with the details, but it is extremely difficult to get to Israel because flights are limited, passenger numbers are limited. And even if you get to Israel, and if you come back, you can't go for another month. It's very, 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 very complicated. What am I hearing from my family, who are in and out of shelter throughout the course of a day, is where's all this going? So X number of people have been killed in Iran. X number of civilians have been killed in Israel. 2 soldiers were killed yesterday. We have the Iron Dome, which is never perfect. Is it somewhere between good to great? Does it enable people to live a life? I don't know. I mean, schools are closed. Businesses are impacted. It's an open question where this is all going, and there's real concern about, what we would call exit strategy. And, there's going to be the battle, the narrative between Trump and Netanyahu, who led whom into this, everybody with their own version. But what really worries me, putting on my Israeli hat, notwithstanding the fact I don't have any hair, is where is all this headed? And I think that at the moment is a very open question.
Yeah, thanks for that. And I have a question, because you were talking about exit strategy, and I'm reading news stories over the weekend that President Trump is seriously considering putting boots on the ground. And also Caroline Leavitt, the press secretary, has said that the draft is not off the table. What do you make of those two pieces of news?
Only because we are regulated by FCC regulations in terms of how we can speak.
Okay, without swearing, what do you make of those pieces of news?
I said it in previous interviews, the things that scare me the most are boots on the ground, whether American soldiers or Israeli soldiers. Boots on the ground in Iran, beyond. And when she hinted, suggested, I watched her. It's hard to leave me speechless. She managed to leave me speechless, and I don't know if she tried to walk that back. Once you put out the draft as a possibility, and the two of you are way too young for this, obviously, but it's important to reference that died on Saturday, Country Joe McDonald, of the iconic Fish song at Woodstock. 1, 2, 3, 4, what are we fighting for?
Yep.
For my generation, that song was the song. And if I would suggest to the president and the press secretary to listen very carefully to Country Joe McDonald's words, because I fear, and I posted this today on Facebook, that his words need to be listened to very carefully by those who are so quick to put other people's children in harm's way. Boots on the ground is exactly that. I find that to be extraordinary. I would hope that at some point the U.S. Congress, there is a thing called U.S. Congress, will be fully activated in the context of asking the kinds of questions that to date have not been asked.
Amos, very, very insightful of you. Thank you very much. And I'm guest hosting on here today, but I've heard you before on KSL, and we know that you'll be back. And stay tuned, everyone, because this is very, very concerning.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you again, Amos. Look, I also wanted to just point out that we're up nearly 50%. 50 cents per gallon in gas over the last week or so, and it is going to continue to go. Oil per barrel went up to over $120 per barrel. It's the highest amount since 2022, but There's a lot of instability in the area right now. Okay, when we come back after the break, we are going to talk about energy, and it's a really hot topic, especially what we're just talking about in Iran.
It's going to be fun.
So what about renewables? Well, we're going to talk about what a new study shows us about the economic impact on Utah when we come back.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
10 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour, a bill passed at the very end of the legislative session, now being called into question. The bill itself could set up a pathway for cities to break off from Salt Lake County, but the final 2 votes on the Senate floor didn't come until after the clock struck midnight, the time the legislative session legally comes to an end. You can hear the commotion in the Senate chambers while Senate President Stuart Adams declared the bill passed.
And will be returned to the House for the further. Returned to the House for their consideration.
A Senate spokesperson defended the decision to pass it to KSL, saying the bill had the 15 necessary yay votes at 11:59. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, President Trump rejecting Iranian leader's decision to appoint the killed Ayatollah's son as the new supreme leader. He spoke on the phone with ABC News Chief White House correspondent Mary Bruce.
Trump has said that the worst-case scenario would be that the next leader is someone who's just as bad as the last one. And he told me he doesn't want to have to go back in a couple of years for the U.S. to have to go back in and do this all over again. But when I asked him if he would be willing to work with a leader who has ties to the regime, he told me, quote, "I would. In order to choose a good leader, I would."
The president says Iranians needed to have a leader that was approved by him, and if that didn't happen, the next leader was not going to last long. Your money at this moment, the Dow's gained back 100 points that it lost earlier this morning, but is still down 434 points to 47,067. Coming up, we've got warm weather today and even warmer weather later in the week. Track KSL weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:01.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code ENJOY to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
Did you know your baby might need their first dental visit sooner than you think? Did you know your baby should visit the dentist after their first tooth appears or by their first birthday? Keep your family healthy. Your smile matters. Babies can get cavities as soon as they have teeth. Bad bacteria can be transferred to a baby's mouth through unwashed spoons or pacifiers. Pacifiers dipped in sugar or sweetened drinks can also cause cavities. Prevention begins by using a small, soft toothbrush and a little fluoride toothpaste. Grain of rice size ages 1 to 2 and a pea size ages 3 to 6. Practice with your baby before their first dental exam. A dental professional can give you the best advice to keep your baby healthy and smiling. If you don't have a dentist, visit YourSmileUtah.org for more information on community dental services. This message brought to you by Utah Oral Health Coalition, Utah Dental Association, University of Utah School of Dentistry, the Utah Department of Health and Human Services, and other Utah health partners. Remember, a healthy smile means a healthier life.
Your smile matters.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection?
each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Up to $500 for loan transfers. Love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
Looks like our crash on I-15 in Utah County has cleared off the road, so it's once again a calm drive both directions on I-15 from Ogden to Provo. So it's just the normal delays that you should be looking for. Eastbound Corey Ride Highway as you approach Lehigh and eastbound Pioneer Crossing and 2100 North are also heavy as you try to get onto I-15 in Lehigh. And a little bit of congestion at the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon both directions on Wasatch Boulevard. Step aboard history, walk through recreation, see real artifacts, and feel the legacy of Titanic, the exhibition. Open now at the shops at Southtown and Sandy. Tickets at thetitanicexhibition.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather today will be sunny, highs in the upper 60s. Tomorrow will be much of the same, although the temperatures come down a touch with the wind bringing it in. Right now it is 54 degrees at the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. I'm Andy Farnsworth. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, hello, Holly. This is Steve Handy sitting in for Greg today, and we have our next interview on the line. I think this will be very interesting. This is John Karakalakis. He is in Colorado.
Say that name again.
John Karakalakis. We always call him John K., right, John? How are you?
Yeah, it took me a few years to learn how to say it. So.
But John has Greek ancestry.
Spell it.
In fact, John was in his whole family went to Greece last summer. And saw their relatives and had a great time. But anyway, John and I are colleagues and have worked together for a number of years. And John is the principal and the director of what's called the Western Way. He's going to tell us about that. And then a new study that was commissioned that just came out 2 weeks ago. It's entitled The Economic Impact of Renewable Energy in Utah, 2007 to 2028. And it's incredibly impressive, the numbers that we're going to learn about the impact of renewable energy in Utah. It's a big deal, isn't it, John? Tell us about the Western Way.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Steve, and thanks, Holly, for having me. The Western Way is an organization, and we're focused on conservative, market-driven solutions to energy and environmental problems across the western U.S. We focus on working with elected officials and landowners, community stakeholders, and really the mission here is to advance responsible energy development that strengthens our local economies and diversifies our grid and kind of helps move forward. So as part of that, we like to look at kind of economic research and independent studies, and we partnered here on this really interesting study that Steve mentioned with Weber State University and their Crossroads Economic Center. And what we did is we put some hard numbers on, I think, something that folks in rural Utah have known for years, and that's that renewable development of energy is one of the biggest economic forces in their communities. We're looking at $8.4 billion in construction and investment across 41 projects across the state, and primarily in these rural counties. That's a huge amount of capital coming in and investment. I think the other big point here is it's not about ideology. Utah doesn't have a renewable energy mandate like California and some of the other states, some of the other neighboring states. This is the market speaking, and it's saying that solar and wind and geothermal are competitive. 94% of new generating capacity added in Utah since 2015 has been solar. So it's a big story here.
Yeah, John. It is. Let me just interrupt quickly. It is a big story, and of course, Governor Cox has this Operation Gigawatt, doubling output in the state of Utah. And we all know there are kind of some naysayers about renewable energy, and they don't like the look of it. But please, I mean, we need all the new energy. We need everything we can get because of these data centers, the AI data centers. But I think that this report is so important that it quantifies that there is a real economic impact. I mean, you take Beaver County and Iron County; it's a huge deal for these rural counties.
It sure is, Steve. And you look just across the. I mentioned it's $8.4 billion in total construction investment activity, and that's from 2007 to 2028, and that equates to 34,600 jobs or job years. On the construction alone. So that's saying, each construction worker, the time they work per week and month, converting that into years. So that's huge. That's a huge amount. We estimate, the report estimates that it's $244 million in annual economic output from the ongoing operations. So, once it's built and those construction jobs do leave, there is still this ongoing operations. And that's huge. That's $250 million that'll be operating and moving around Utah, and that goes to full-time positions, that goes to maintaining the equipment, that goes to the operations happening in the state. And then we look further to kind of the fiscal impacts to local governments. $33 million per year in property taxes to the rural counties. And that's a big number, and that's meaningful. And a lot of these counties, are able to balance the budget because of that and keep programs going.
Sure
none of this money is diverted, or none of the money is like earmarked to special, requirements. I mean, this is general fund money that comes in to the county, and then, it's money that goes to the school districts as well. But, they're able to do with it what they want. They're able to choose. And the companies, as they're developing the sites, when they have road impacts, and, they pay for those and everything as they're building them. So it's a great source. And, the other thing with that $33 million in property taxes is that's for 30 years. And it's a guaranteed source. It's not going to change with the price. There's no price of fuel for these resources. So those are something you can plan on and certainty. And that's huge for local governments.
Yeah, it's amazing.
And then the last piece there on that is we estimate about $4 million per year going to pay the local landowners in lease payments. And that's an estimate. And, it's tough to pin that down because a lot of the companies don't kind of put, it's not public necessarily what each of these lease agreements is. And, for good reason, it's a competitive thing. And so we don't know exactly, but that's kind of, a pretty good, estimation of what we think it is. And that's huge. I mean, we've seen a lot of these generational farms and ranches that are able to stay in the family because, they get what we call mailbox money. I mean, it's money that will come in for 30 years, and it usually has a cost of living inflation escalator that kind of goes up each year. And, that can be the difference of keeping the land in the family. So you talk to these landowners and they love it. It makes a lot of sense for them.
What do you think, Holly?
So, John, I just have a question. You mentioned diversification of the energy portfolio, which I think is super important, especially this week as we watch the Middle East be on fire. But does your report talk about nuclear energy at all? Because that's something that the state of Utah has been really, really interested in the last couple of years.
Yeah, we didn't get into it, and quite simply because it's so new, and there aren't really, the projects we analyzed here in this report are kind of what's, either been constructed and is operating, or has kind of gone through the approval process and is kind of in that last phase of development, and we kind of know it'll be built in the next year or so. So I think, with nuclear, there's certainly a lot of potential, and I think there's been a lot of discussion, but we just, we weren't quite there yet for the report. But maybe once it takes off, maybe we'd love to do a report on that and show the importance.
John, we have about 1 minute. I've just been signaled, and that is the one thing I want to go back on is this the $4 million per year. It's an estimate in lease payments. There was a big story around here over the weekend that I read about the family farms in the United States. I read that 65 family farms a day are failing. And that is a huge thing. And so you and I have talked to a number of these farmers who this supplemental income, I mean, it's pretty tough to make a living farming today in smaller farms. But this supplemental income, they can have a small utility scale, small scale renewable energy project, some solar panels, that you call that mailbox income. And it helps sustain someone who has this lifestyle they've had for generations in their family, and they want to continue it. I think it's a marvelous thing. Thanks for being with us today, John. This is terrific.
Yeah, you bet.
And it's online at thewesternway.org, right? People can read the whole report.
It sure is. Yep, it's right up there.
All right. Thanks so much for joining us. Look, this story, it seems too outrageous to be true, but people are placing bets and making money on military strikes, including on when Khamenei would be out as the supreme leader. I can't even believe it.
Just when you thought you had heard it all,
I know.
Here it is, Holly.
We're going to talk about that impact and the concern around it when we come back.
At Uline, they know firsthand the road to success is an uphill climb. Uline started in the family basement, and through hard work is now North America's most trusted shipping and industrial supplier. They get what it means to have the support of reliable, hardworking partners. So they keep 41,000 items ready to ship. Whether your company is still in a basement office or expanding cross-country, Uline will be there on your road to success. Visit uline.com.
Utah's largest sportsman's expo for the entire family is back Thursday through Sunday at Mountain America Expo Center. Discover your next adventure, buy the latest gear, book a trip, learn tips at dozens of free seminars at the Adventure Theater, Dog Arena, and new Campfire Theater. Your life outdoors Thursday through Sunday at Mountain America Expo Center in Sandy. Youth under 16 enter free. More info at sportsexpos.com.
I'm back to doing what I love and more, thanks to the Good Feet store.
Does it feel like someone's stabbing a knife into your heel? Or does your lower back give you problems as the day goes on? The Good Feet store wants to help you, like we helped Ann.
Every time I stood up, pain just shot up my legs. Fortunately, I found the Good Feet store. I went to them after my doctor diagnosed me with plantar fasciitis. And now, thanks to the Good Feet store, I'm 100%.
Wouldn't it be nice to get back to doing what you love, like Patrick did?
I was in constant pain. Somehow my fiance and I found our way into the Good Feet store. Put my foot on the arch support system. I put them in my shoes, my back, my knees, my ankles. Thank you. Thank you, everybody at the Good Feet store. You gave me my active life back.
Learn more or schedule an appointment at goodfeet.com and come in and get your free personalized fitting at the Good Feet store. We have locations in Farmington, Riverton, and Sandy.
Thanks to the Good Feet store.
Step into a world where the music swells, your pulse quickens, and pure emotion takes over. Experience the Utah Symphony's Masterworks concerts, thrilling, elegant evenings at Marisa Bravanel Hall. Feel the romance of Rachmaninoff's Piano Concerto No. 2, the joy of Respighi's The Pines of Rome, and the spine-tingling drama as orchestra and chorus unite for the electrifying masterpiece Carmina Burana. Hear it live, feel it live. Tickets start at $26 at utahsymphony.org.
I didn't realize how bad my windows were until I replaced them. You think your house is fine, and then you sit by a new high-performance window, and suddenly you're not freezing in the winter or baking in the summer. Peach Windows and Doors showed me the difference between builder-grade windows and real performance windows. The glass packages, the seals, the insulation, it's not even close. And here's the part I love. It completely changes the look of the house. Cleaner lines, bigger glass, more light. It instantly feels upgraded. Whether you're building $1 million home or you want yours to look like one, windows matter more than you think. Lower energy bills, more comfort, massive curb appeal. Go see the difference for yourself at peachdoorsandwindows.com or visit their showroom. Trust me, once you see the difference, you can't unsee it. peachdoorsandwindows.com.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Hi, I'm Ryan Blaney, a third-generation race car driver, and we dedicate a lot of our time to going as fast as possible. My grandpa Lou is the reason why my dad and I started racing, and I'm really proud to follow in his tracks. But when my grandpa was diagnosed with Alzheimer's, it was a very unexpected bump in the road for us. I've learned a lot on this journey with my grandpa Lou, and the memories of my grandpa will always be with me. It's important to notice if older family members are acting differently, experiencing problems with their memory, or having trouble with routine tasks. Talking about Alzheimer's can be really tough, but if you notice something, have a conversation with your loved one. Encourage them to see a doctor or offer to go with them. Early detection of Alzheimer's can give your family time to explore support services, make a plan for the future, and access available treatments. The Alzheimer's Association provides care, support, and research to help you take control of the situation with your family and manage the disease together. If you or your family are noticing changes, it could be Alzheimer's. Talk about seeing a doctor together. Visit alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
And expanded Inside Sources. Inside Sources.
So this story was one that was just like, you've really just got to be kidding me.
You've got to be kidding me, Holly.
People were placing bets, and they still are, on military action in the Middle East, including bets on when the supreme leader would be, quote, out of office. What do you think they meant by that?
Yeah. Somebody knows more than we do, or they're betting that they know more than we do, but craziness.
Well, we have Jay Evenson with us, the opinion editor of the Deseret News, to help us understand what's happening with betting on war. Thanks for joining us, Jay.
Oh, thank you for having me. I've got to explain for your listeners so they understand.
Yeah.
These are prediction markets, and so they are governed by the Federal Commodity Futures Trading Commission. There's a company called Kalshi. They do a lot of advertising on television, on sporting events, and that type of thing. And so normally when we talk about commodities, we're talking about raw materials or an agricultural product that can be bought and sold, like coffee or copper, that kind of thing. Somehow they've been able to expand that to current events or sporting events, that type of thing. You can go on Kalshi, and there's another company called Polymarket, and they're offshore, so they're not governed by anybody here in the United States. But you can go on their markets, and you can bet on virtually anything. And so in this case, they were offering bets on when do you think the Ayatollah will be out of office. And Polymarket was a little bit more direct. They were offering bets on when we were going to attack Iran, and they were letting you guess the date that the Ayatollah would be killed. And one of those dates was February 28th, which happened to be when it happened. And there's a group that monitors these things and says there were some suspicious bets on Polymarket. About 6 people made a lot of money off of betting that it would happen on February 28th. Now, the trading markets will tell you that they're more accurate than polling or anything else because they measure wide swaths of people who are willing to put their money down on certain events and things that are going to happen. The problem is when you're dealing with things like a military strike, the only people who know when it's going to happen are people who have insider information.
That's right.
And so there's a lot of questions being raised now about who was it who made these bets that made a lot of money. And there's the morality of it. We're betting on war and on things that affect the lives of our young men and women. And, in World War II, there used to be a saying that loose lips sink
ships.
And if we're placing insider bets on when an attack is going to happen, we could be tipping off the enemy.
Yeah.
Yes, Jay, I'm looking at your just a quote from your piece here that was last Friday, March 6th. You had an email with the comms director at Kalshi, and she said, "We don't list markets directly tied to death," which is, I know what you're talking about, but that is an absolutely outrageous, to me, shocking statement.
Well, so it's parsing it, right? So
yeah.
they're offering a bet on when the Ayatollah will leave office. I suppose that in some scenario he could be asked to leave office by people around him, but really the only way he was going to leave office was through death. And so they're parsing that and saying, well, we don't offer bets on people dying,
but kind of we do.
But kind of we do.
Yeah.
Parsing is well said.
Yeah.
And of course we have a new now the sun is in place, and I guess there are bets going on right now.
Well, I haven't
how long he will last.
I haven't checked the odds on that,
yeah.
but I bet. I mean, you can bet on anything.
On anything.
It's kind of outrageous.
So speaking of, it's proposition bets, right? So speaking about that, there was a bill that was passed in the Utah legislature this session to explicitly make proposition betting a form of gambling. So it's illegal in the state of Utah, if people were worried about that or had a question about that. But, you know, one of the things that I know about you is that you have really been on top of gambling, especially as it has spread and just kind of infiltrated via the internet everywhere.
Sports.
You spoke with Les, I think it's Bernal,
Yes.
the National Director of Stop Predatory Gambling. Can you tell us what he felt about these bets placed on war?
Absolutely. Les has very, very strong feelings about this, and he thinks that it's treasonable if you place an insider bet on war. But beyond that, he's very upset at just the immorality of these types of bets. And let me make it this clear for your listeners. One of the reasons it's such a problem in Utah is because they are governed by the Commodity Exchange Commission. That bypasses state laws.
Mm-hmm.
And so they are claiming, Kalshi is claiming, that Utah's laws against gambling do not apply to prediction markets. That's why there's so much advertising here. And in the advertising, they say you can bet in all 50 states with our product, our service. And when Utah passed that law on prediction markets, Kalshi filed a lawsuit against Utah. So this is an ongoing thing right now. But it's a real threat to the lawmakers will tell you it's a real threat to Utah sovereignty to not be able to outlaw what essentially is betting and gambling in a state that has outlawed gambling.
Mm-hmm.
This is a way to get around that, and it's hard enough. Utah being one of only 2 states, Hawaii is the other state.
Hawaii. Mm-hmm.
That doesn't allow any gambling. So you're kind of this lone island in a nation that's awash in gambling, and it's hard enough to protect that value, and it is a value. There are a number of bad effects that come with gambling. And its effects on lives and livelihoods and families and all that type of stuff. To hold on to that value in a country that's just being drowned in betting.
Aren't there just some things we shouldn't be allowed to bet on?
Well, you would think so. Now, interestingly enough, it's the Democrats in Congress who are really taking the lead on this, and there are a couple of bills out there that would try to regulate or do away with these types of bets. It seems outrageous. I mean, you shouldn't be able to win money on the lives of our young men and women, and to win money by guessing that a war will begin at a certain time.
Jay, I assume these 2 companies are privately held, and there's no way to get in to look at their revenues, or are there? Do you have a sense of that?
Well, I would assume that the commodities, Federal Commodities
they would be
Futures Trading
regulated.
Commission
Yeah, they would be regulated.
Would be able to do that.
Yeah.
And so there's a real question about how broadly do we define a commodity? Where is the product here? They're just taking money. They're not providing anything except money back to people who win. They will argue that they're safer than sports books because they make money off of fees that you pay with each contract. They call them contracts instead of bets. That you make. So there is no incentive on their part to get you to lose because they don't make money if you lose. You lose money if you lose. But it's still the lure of gambling and the lure of getting rich quick on something that it just seems outrageous to be placing a bet on.
I think with the news over the weekend, first of all, that we have a hardline replacement for a hardline ruler. Mm-hmm. That may show up on those markets. But the other thing is we had Caroline Leavitt refuse to take the draft off the table. And I wonder if people now, are you going to start betting on whether the U.S. brings the draft back? That's offensive to me.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure. Now, I haven't been on the site, Kalshi site, to see if those are available, but it seems like the kind of thing that they would make available for bets.
I'm going to ask you just one clarifying question because I don't know really anything except for what you've taught me about Kalshi and Polymarket. Are they the ones that set the parameters, or can any user say, hey, I want to place a bet on whether the draft is going to come back, and here's the date I think it will.
Yeah, no, I believe they set the parameters, and there are various questions but the odds depend on how people are buying and how many people are betting one way or the other. But I don't think anybody can just propose something to bet on.
Okay. I do know that they had a thing the other day that said the odds of Jesus returning were higher than something. What was it higher than? Do you remember?
No, I don't remember. But
his chances of coming back are going up.
Yeah, it raises all kinds of questions, and that's offensive on a whole different level. So.
Okay, Jay, thanks for joining us
Jay.
and
Good to see
keeping
you.
us updated on what's going on in
Keep
the
it up.
gambling world. That was Jay Evenson, the opinion editor of the Deseret News. And when we come back, look, we're going to talk with the former president of the Deseret News. That's Robin Rich. But I want to talk to you about March is Women's History Month. Yesterday was International Women's Day. And Robin has a whole lot of insight on women who are choosing and instead of or. We're going to talk to her about that when we come back.
10:30 at KSL News Radio. I'm Andy Farnsworth. KSL's top story this hour. President Trump says he won't sign any new bills into law until a proposal sponsored by a Utah senator reaches his desk.
The proposal the president wants finished off before anything else is the Save America Act, which overhauls voting laws, namely by requiring all prospective voters to present proof of citizenship beforehand. And the sponsor of this proposal is none other than Utah Senator Mike Lee. The president posted on Truth Social saying, quote, "I as president will not sign other bills until this is passed and not the watered-down version," end quote. Senator Lee recently told the Deseret News he believes funding the Department of Homeland Security will likely need to happen before they deal with the SAVE Act, and even then it could still take weeks to pass because as of now it does not have the support it needs to pass in the Senate. Adam Small, KSL News Radio.
A man was arrested after Salt Lake City police released an announcement asking people to be aware of an armed and dangerous individual. It started out as a domestic violence call Sunday. SWAT teams arrived scouring the area for the suspect, Lovell Grant. He was found about 10 minutes later and taken into custody. Our top national story this hour from ABC News, New Jersey Senator Andy Kim is hoping to tackle the nation's literacy crisis with a new bill focusing on increasing access to books for all kids.
Senator Andy Kim is hoping to get the Department of Education to free up $100 million in yearly grants that would go to areas of the country known as book deserts, neighborhoods where reliable access to books is hard to find. Kim is hoping to tackle recent statistics showing a third of the nation's fourth graders are unable to read above the basic level. Education Secretary Linda McMahon thinks that money would be better spent letting states decide on their own reading programs.
ABC's Sherry Preston reporting. Your money at this moment, the Dow down 350 points to 47,150. Coming up, new crash down in the Holiday area. Plus, we've got really good temperatures coming up. KSL Weather's next. KSL News Time, 10:31.
A reminder about the simplest way to get updated for your day.
Hit your KSL preset when you jump in the car, and we'll take care of the rest.
Hear key news updates and traffic reports.
Andy and Amanda from 5 to 9 in your car.
KSL News Radio at 102.7 FM.
It's all about creativity. Dave's Bernina. Special discounts and fantastic savings.
In our Provo and St. George stores. The top-of-the-line Bernina 990, L890, and 790 and 770 Pro machines are on sale. They come with a limited time offer of free Bernina accessories, software, and sewing extras, valued from $3,000 to $4,600.
Come in now.
Add to all this savings, 60 months, no interest on certain models.
All new Berninas come with a 5-year warranty and free classes.
Buy one and get one 50% off on all Bernina hoops. Dave's Bernina has made a special purchase of previously owned Bernina 330s for only $499 while supplies last, with a 2-year warranty and free classes.
Dave's Bernina, 691 East St. George Boulevard and 2017 North 550 West in Provo. Dave'sBernina.com.
The Salt Lake Chamber is Utah's voice for business. Okay, that sounds great, but what does it really mean? Well, as Utah's largest and longest standing business association, they support and champion community prosperity throughout the state. And if you're in business, well, that's a very good thing for you. Be sure to listen to the Chamber's Speaking on Business, weekdays at 7:20, 11:55, and 5:20 p.m. on KSL News Radio.
Do you have an IRA or 401k?
It's natural to think of this as being your money, right? But remember, you still have to pay taxes when you withdraw this money in retirement. And you could be paying a lot more in taxes on these accounts than you know. A lot more. Learn the strategies that can help you reduce or eliminate your taxes in retirement. Don't miss a special edition of Retirement Solutions Radio this Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, right here on KSL News Radio 1027.
Gold demand is skyrocketing to record highs. As more Americans rush to preserve their savings, will there be enough gold? I'm Dr. Ron Paul, and I believe physical gold is the only way to truly protect your 401k or IRA savings. Gold offers tangible security that can't be tracked, stolen, or inflated. That's why I strongly advocate for gold IRAs. To learn more, text the word SECURE to 989898 now. Birch Gold Group will send you a free info kit on gold IRAs. Birch Gold is the only gold company I trust, and their thousands of great reviews prove I'm not alone. So don't wait another second. Protect your retirement savings today and see how easy it is to move your IRA or 401k into physical precious metals. Text SECURE to the number 989898 for your free gold IRA info kit. Again, SECURE to 989898.
Message and data rates may apply.
Traffic and weather together brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at uccu.com. Let's check in with Cormac Bone.
No accidents or delays on I-15 between Ogden and Provo, but I-215 southbound, we do see that accident blocking the right lane and shoulder just after Highland Drive, where you're going to see those slowdowns starting. It's just a little bit of light delay as they are blocking that right lane. So, again, be careful and give them the spaces you get around them as they try and work on that crash. Still seeing the light congestion at the mouth of Big Cottonwood Canyon as well, both directions on Wasatch Boulevard. So a little bit slow as you may be trying to hit the slopes. Gear up for adventure at the Utah RV Super Show. Find gear, talk with experts, and explore new 2026 RVs. March 19th through the 22nd at Mountain America Expo Center. UtahRVSupershow.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
KSL weather forecast today will be sunny with highs in the upper 60s. Tomorrow, much of the same, but with more winds in the afternoon. Temps will be a little bit lower for the next couple of days before getting back into the high 60s starting Thursday. Right now, it's 57 degrees in Salt Lake City. I'm Andy Farnsworth from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Today it's Holly Richardson and Steve Handy again. Thanks for joining me, Steve.
Yeah, very, very fun. We're having a great morning.
I have some numbers here that I want to share. So when I was born in the mid-1960s, it was still a decade before my mother could have gotten a credit card in her name at any bank. So banks, until the Equal Credit Opportunity Act of 1974, until that passed, banks could refuse women a credit card. They could have a male relative have to come sign for her. They took her credit from her income and cut it in half when they were looking at how much credit she could have on a credit card, if they were even going to do that. So the same thing applied to buying a house, right? My mom couldn't have purchased a home on her own. She wouldn't have been able to serve on a jury in all 50 states until 1973, which is wild. Although I will have to say Utah was the first to have women serve on juries. That started in 1898, so shout out to Utah.
Shout out.
But yesterday was International Women's Day, and despite progress, there's still a lot to be done. And in over half of the world, rape is still not defined on consent. And in a number of countries, it's considered a property crime for the man, either the father or the husband. A girl can be forced to marry in nearly 3 out of 4 countries, and 44% of all countries, including the United States, do not mandate equal pay for equal work. So it's frustrating sometimes, right, to have some of those numbers. And then we also have a whole bunch of cultural messages that swirl around about what our role is supposed to be, and sometimes it changes, and sometimes it feels like it doesn't change. And so we have with us Robin Rich. She's the former president of the Deseret News. She's a new author, which is super exciting, business consultant, long track record, and a friend of mine that I met when I started working at the Deseret News. Welcome, Robin.
Hey, thanks for having me. It's fun to be back in the building.
So set up a little bit about Just your thoughts on International Women's Day, and then we can go. Let's talk about a book you just wrote.
Sure. One of the things that's so sobering is when I did research. So my book that I wrote is focused on women making their career decisions between 1968 and 1973, or 74-ish. And when I did the research, that's only 50 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And so all the statistics that you just gave about the U.S., no credit cards, you could only take nursing or be an educator in college, and you couldn't get financial aid because you're a woman. Why would we need that
Right.
for you? All of that stuff was all new information to me. Like, I didn't know these things because it was only 50 years ago, but at the same time, no one was educating me on that, and I was unaware. And so that was really shocking to me, to say the least. And to see, we've made progress, but then to realize internationally where we are is very shocking. It's very shocking and very sad. It's incredibly sad, and it makes you want to think, what can I do? What can I do to try and educate and inform people on women are valuable too?
Yeah, those statistics that you just shared with us, Holly, it is shocking. I mean, I never ever I have 4 daughters, and I've never understood why it took so long for women to vote.
Well, that's a whole other conversation.
That's a whole other thing. But I've never understood that.
Yeah. Utah led the way that way as well.
Yes.
But it took the women's suffrage movement to get to a national suffrage act was something like 70 years, right? They had to fight for it long past when the original people had passed away. They had to continue to carry the torch before that went. So talk to us a little bit about your book and the title of your book.
Sure. So it came out Saturday. I didn't know it was coming out Saturday.
Oh,
They
nice.
told me, the publishers told me it was coming out later this week. And then they're like, wait, it's International Women's Day
Yay.
on Sunday, which I knew. And I said, why isn't it coming out then? But anyway, so it did. And it's called Using Friction to Grow. And it's a case studies in LDS women. So I specifically looked at members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, or LDS females that were making their decisions between 1968 and 1974 or 76-ish. And the reason why I wrote it, I'm actually not a writer, as all the journalists used to tell me at Deseret News, including Holly.
By the way.
I never said that to you.
Holly would have never said it to me, but others did, which I almost am like, I actually did send a note to the editor of the magazine saying, I know you didn't think I was a writer, but actually 3 different publishing houses thought I was. So here you go.
So there you go.
Here you go. But anyway, back to the book. So I was out to lunch with Christine Durham. She's a retired Chief Justice of the Supreme Court of Utah. And she's a friend of mine. And we were out to lunch, and she was talking about the 1970s. And I was having one of those moments of like, what are you talking about? Because I had no idea what went on in the LDS Church in Utah around the women's rights movement. And Christine, along with a couple other people, were very involved in talking about women's rights around the ERA and being proponents of women being treated as equal. And as she was telling me all this information, and I'm not from Utah, so also I wasn't here either. So that's part of I'm too young, not here. So she was telling me all this stuff, and I was really kind of it was really puzzling to me what had happened to her and some of the things that had gone on. And I actually asked her, why would you stay in a faith community that treated you like that? Like, I don't understand. And what Christine said was not what I expected. What she said was, we knew about our grandmothers. She carries around a letter of one of her great-grandmothers that was from her great-grandfather, talking about all the amazing things that her great-grandmother had done and was, a college professor and everything. And so she said, I knew the stories of my great-grandmothers and my grandmothers, and I just thought, I don't know what they're talking about, but I know what they did. And the moment she said that, I realized, in our church canon, the LDS church canon, we don't have stories of kind of the grandmother generation that are like 75 to 85. We don't have their stories. We might know that they baked bread and baked some pies, but we don't actually know the challenges they faced. And I think it's important to know that. I think a lot of times we always throw back to 200 years ago and go, remember this person and this person did this, but that was 200 years ago. And these women were fighting 50 years ago when they were civil rights was happening, women's movement was happening. And so understanding the social issues that they dealt with and how did they deal with them and why was there a faith community involved and why did they stay and how was that important to them is really, I think, insightful for us today to help, because we have the same thing going on.
Well, I was a young married during the ERA, the church's anti-ERA push and movement, and my wife and I, also named Holly, it was quite a thing to watch and to see. And my Holly is educator, and our daughters are all educated. And but it was a time. I'm very interested in your book, Robin.
So we're gonna go to a break, but I do want to say, one of the things that's interesting to me is how you, especially as somebody who worked with the Deseret News as the president and active in the LDS Church, taking on an issue that feels a little controversial. So we're going to be back after this break.
What if Jurassic Park really existed? Well, you would need a reliable mobile connection to keep you online at the park. With Xfinity Mobile, you have Wi-Fi where you need it and 5G everywhere else. Whether you're live streaming a T-Rex feeding or downloading park maps when you're lost in the Gallimimus run, you can stay connected with Raptor fast speeds. Xfinity Mobile is there for you at home and at the park because it was born ready for you to roam. Xfinity. Imagine that. And now you can cut your mobile bill in half with 2 lines unlimited. Learn more at xfinitymobile.com. That's xfinitymobile.com and watch Jurassic Park with Xfinity. Restrictions apply. Xfinity Internet required. Savings based on promotional rate for 2 lines of Xfinity Mobile Unlimited versus 2 lines of T-Mobile Experience More, Verizon Unlimited Plus, and AT&T Starter as of 2/10/26, taxes, fees extra.
More than 50 million Americans suffer from a form of mental illness.
And Utah isn't immune, with nearly 1 in 3 people dealing with anxiety, depression, or another form of mental illness.
But there's hope. We can all take action to keep ourselves and our loved ones safe.
That's why KSL has teamed with the Huntsman Mental Health Foundation to bring you hope and help you thrive.
It's Healthy Mind Matters.
Find out more at healthymindmatters.com.
Buying a home or refinancing can be complicated. So who do you call? Who's trustworthy, has decades of experience, and can get you a loan done quickly? Who will work hard for you to find the great rate and reasonable closing costs? The answer's clear. Loans by Rick. Right now, Loans by Rick is giving a 30-year fixed rate at 5.5% and a 15-year fixed at just 4.625%.
He can't do that.
Oh, yes, he can. For over 25 years, Rick has helped people navigate the mortgage process and get the financing they need to buy a home or refinance. That even includes paying off debt with a cash-out refi. And because Loans by Rick works with over 80 bank and lending relationships, we shop multiple lenders to find you the very best deal. Whether you're buying a home or refinancing, call Loans by Rick at 801-809-SAVE. That's 801-809-SAVE, or visit loansbyrick.com. Rick Bob, NMLS 241179, Vintage Lending, NMLS 287106, Equal Housing Lender, 30-year APR 5.78%, 15-year APR 4.78%. Some restrictions apply.
This Friday from 10 to 1, the movie show comes to Sound Sleep. But first, take time to learn about a better night's rest. Sound Sleep delivers oral appliance therapy that treats sleep apnea without the use of CPAP machines. They're professionally fit, warranted, and covered by most major medical insurance. End the days of a poor night's sleep. With offices from Clearfield to St. George, Sound Sleep will help. Call Sound Sleep at 801-716-8672 today.
Email from school about the incident today.
Scary.
Tell me about it. Did you have any idea that was going on?
None. I mean, you saw Derek at the game last night too. Did you have a clue?
No, but teachers like me, parents, we don't always know as much as you guys do. Kids hear first about what's going on with other kids.
Half the time, it's rumors.
It can be hard to tell sometimes, but if you're ever concerned about a friend who's having trouble with alcohol, prescription drugs, bullying, violence, anything, you need to tell an adult. Mom or me, a teacher, coach, school counselor, someone you know and trust.
Dad, no kid is gonna tell an adult about that kind of stuff.
I get it, but if we don't know, we can't help. Speaking up about a problem, that's what helping a friend is all about.
For more information,
Visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov.
Bad driving habits are hard to break, but good driving habits are easy to form, especially when they can lead to a discount on your auto insurance. With Farm Bureau Financial Services, the safer you drive, the more you save. Drivers like you are saving an average of $321 per vehicle. So buckle up, learn more, and find an agent at fbfs.com/save. Individual savings results may vary. Farm Bureau Property and Casualty Insurance Company, Western Agricultural Insurance Company.
Question: what will you find on all over-the-counter or OTC medicine packages to help you choose the right drug and use it safely? The answer: the Drug Facts label. This label lists the medicine's active ingredients and purpose, how much to take, and warnings you should know before using it. Remember, even OTC medicines you buy without a prescription can cause side effects you don't want. So follow the information listed on the Drug Facts label. For more information, visit fda.gov/Drug Facts label. A message from the U.S. Food and Drug Administration.
Any Hour Services can help you make sure your furnace keeps you warm this winter. Whether you need a tune-up, a repair, or a second opinion about replacing it, call Any Hour Services or visit anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources.
So in this month of Women's History Month and just right after International Women's Day, we have the opportunity to talk with Robin Rich, the former president of Deseret News and author of a new book that I have read. I read a good chunk of it, almost half of it, I think, over the weekend. And it's really intriguing. And here's why for me. So these were women in the late 60s, early 70s trying to navigate different messages. So they were either in maybe financial situations where they felt like they had to work or they wanted to, right? And yet they were getting messages that there's only one role for women, and it's this: stay at home, period. And what's interesting to me is I think the arguments continue to be somewhat the same. So Robin, you mentioned in the last segment that there were only a few professions that were quote unquote appropriate for women, and I did one of those professions when I went to college as a teenager, and I became a nurse, right? Because that's one of the things that's okay. And I have a daughter who's a teacher, and she loves it, right? And she knows she had a lot broader array of choices she could make. But I did stay home with my kids, and we have a large and unusual family. But at the same time, I always had an and, right? And it was, I'm a mom and, right? I think motherhood for me is not the sum total of who I am as a person. And that was sometimes I have friends who've gotten lost in that motherhood definition. And then when their kids leave the home, they don't know who they are anymore. So even though I didn't work full time outside of the home while my kids were young, I was doing things like being a midwife, learning to lobby the Utah legislature because there was an issue I cared about, staying active in local politics. I mean, there were things that I did in addition to being a mom. Mm-hmm. So I wanted to ask you about maybe one of the stories that really stood out to you as you interviewed these women trying to navigate that tension between this is what I'm hearing my role is supposed to be, but this is what I'm feeling like the answer is for me personally.
It's a great question. One of the things I want to say, and I think that this is the global statement, which is when I went into this, I kind of thought there'd be like, hey, they all kind of look the same, and this is their path that they all kind of, how they got to where they were, where they had a huge career, plus family, plus. And it was really, that was one of the key findings for me, which was every single of these women were very unique and had unique skills and sets, and why they chose to stay in a faith community was also unique. So that's one of the things it's really weird that we're like, here's the box for women, mm-hmm. and this is what it looks like, and yet all the women I interviewed were so very, very, very varied. So it's hard to pick just one because it was very different. I interviewed, it was really hard to find, but I did go find people that were not white to interview because when I only did the United States, and I found because there weren't very many members of the church that were not white at that time, in the late 60s. Yeah. That was why it was so hard. And also, there weren't that many. Plus, also, some people have died because that was the time period I was doing. But one of the ones I really, really liked that taught me a lot was there was a woman, she immigrated with her job with the UN. And she was from Latin America, South America, and she came to she joined the church in Latin America right before she immigrated with her job to DC, to the UN. She actually served there at the UN, at one of the organizations there she was in the Pacific Area Health Organization for like 34 years as an executive. She was a newly member of the church, and she was part of a congregation that was Spanish speaking. They were a group, and then they became a branch and a ward, and then they went to regular ward. What really stood out to me was she talked about how this, and a lot of people relate to this, when she would be in the women's organization meeting, which is called Relief Society, she said, whenever they talked about women working and that it was the wrong thing for me to do, like I'd have my baby and I'd be breastfeeding and I'd just get up every time and leave Relief Society if they talked about things I didn't believe in. And I asked her, I was like, I don't really understand. Why'd you go? Like, why was that a thing? If they were saying things that were directly in conflict with what you were doing. And she just talked a lot about how she felt like it was her and her husband's it was their role to, yes, hear from the leadership of the church, but then go and figure out, what does that look like for my family? What does that look like for my family? And I'm going to go do that and feel comfortable in that. She later on, and she's still alive, but she has counseled and mentored thousands of Hispanic students in her area back on the East Coast and helping them get to college. She's been very, very active in educating and in her sphere of influence. And for me, I just hearing about her unique viewpoint of the LDS Church coming from Latin America, South America, and seeing, and also she said in the Spanish branches, no one ever talked about that because everyone was working.
Everyone had to work.
Yeah, everyone had to work. And so when you think about like how narrowly they defined it back then, it only really fit if you were white, middle class, or upper middle class. It doesn't fit globally. And so there were lots of stories let me just say, every single woman, and this is probably true of most women in general, had good experiences with leadership in the church and bad experiences. And it was really what these women chose to do with it. And that's where the title came from, which is using friction to grow. Friction slows you down. It's going to be hard. But what friction actually does is rough off your rough edges if you were a stone. And so that's how these women kind of approached it. They saw the injustices or things that were said to them or whatever. Lots of things happened it's in the book, but they all kind of said, and they kind of went back to the basics, which is, I know the number one principle is love God, love my fellow neighbors. And I got to go to God and just figure out what my path is and how am I going to love my neighbors. And sometimes that looks like being a midwife for you, Holly. And then later it looked like being a legislator and all these things. And I know you well. So I know you were like, okay, how do I share my light with other people? And you went and in partnership with your higher power, did that and figured out what that looks like. And I think that was the key thing for these women. They all had different things going on, but they all kind of came back to that, which is like, I don't know. The other thing I will say, sorry, I keep talking so long, but the other thing that was super interesting in these women, the majority of them had a challenge before the women's thing came down, because the women's thing came down in the early 70s. They had a challenge with the policy around blacks in the priesthood. Mm-hmm. So they already had an issue, a social issue that they looked at and thought, I don't agree with this. And they figured out how to work through that. And then right after they kind of figured out how to work through that, the women's thing showed up in the church. And so I think that's similar to today. There's plenty of social issues they might not agree with.
Robin, how many women are featured in your book that you have case studies on?
Yeah, I ended up
10, 20, 30?
I ended up putting like 15 in, but I interviewed a lot more. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I put about 15 in. And so each chapter is a woman and her story. And I just am so happy that I can tell these women's stories. I feel like I was the biggest beneficiary of hearing these amazing women's stories and sitting in their homes and interviewing them.
You had mentioned that our grandmothers maybe had a different, they worked. So my paternal grandmother was a Rosie the Riveter during World War II, right? And we know that women were in the workforce a lot. And then when people started coming back, when the soldiers started coming back, there started to be a push. That's when we got the, June Cleaver, go back to the kitchens. But these were women who were used to working. And my grandmother, bless her heart, she trained as a surgical tech. She never got a nursing degree, but she was really, really good in the operating room, and that's what she did, and ran a grocery store and raised her family right? While my grandfather suffered from severe health problems before he ended up passing away. And it was just really interesting, right? And nobody looked at her and said, oh my gosh, why are you working in the shipbuilding yards, right? Of course they were.
Of course they were. They had to.
Yeah.
They did.
Well, super fascinating conversation and super fascinating
good luck
book.
on this, Robin.
Thanks.
If people are interested in it, where can they find out more information about getting it?
I have a website with my name, robinrich.com, or you can go on. I published it with BCC Press. They published it, and it's on Amazon.
Okay.
So you can just Google that.
All right. Thanks so much
Good
for
luck.
joining us
Thank
today.
you.
Yeah, just really interesting. And I love the discussion because I'm seeing my own daughters go through that same kind of thing and saying, well, if there's only one role for me and I don't fit that, then maybe I don't belong in this religion, right? And that's a concern for me as a parent. So when we come back, after this next break, we're going to continue the conversation about International Women's Day and have a discussion about how far women have come and the work that still needs to be done when we talk with Susan Madsen, the founder of the Utah Women in Leadership Project. Stay with us next.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
11 o'clock at KSL News Radio. I'm Claire Scott. KSL's top story this hour. The widow of Afa Alu is filing a lawsuit against a local chapter of a national organization after her husband was shot and killed at the No Kings rally last year. The lawsuit claims the local chapter did not follow national standards and failed to properly train the unofficial peacekeepers.
It is unfortunate in the biggest sense of the word that Matt Alder was an untrained volunteer who chose not to follow basic safety protocols, failing to properly assess and attempt to de-escalate the situation before firing multiple shots at an individual whose gun was down and unloaded with thousands of people in the surrounding area.
His widow, Laura, says if there had been proper planning, training, and foresight, none of this would have happened. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. Stocks tumbled in early trading today as oil prices soared above $100 per barrel in response to the U.S.-Israel war with Iran. ABC's Elizabeth Schulze says the hardest hit industries are those most reliant on fuel, like travel and shipping.
As they are paying those higher costs, there is a very real risk that they pass down those higher costs to consumers. And that creates a broader concern with inflation at a time when so many households have already been feeling these persistently high prices in other parts of the economy, something that there had been an expectation and a real hope that inflation had been moving in the right direction before this.
This has caused gas prices to soar all over the country and in Utah. Right now, the average cost is $3.18, up over 40 cents in just a week. Right now, your money, the Dow is down 315 points. The S&P is down 18 points. And coming up, temperatures on the rise. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:01.
The sources where we get our news matters.
When you listen to Utah's Morning News, we want you to feel the stories are important to you and trustworthy. This is Amanda Dixon.
And I'm Andy Farnsworth. Join us weekday mornings on KSL News Radio.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Ask yourself this question. Is it really worth holding on to that timeshare that you know you need to get rid of? Here's the truth. The average maintenance fee just went up over 17%. That could have been 117%, and there's nothing you can do about it. When you buy a timeshare, you give them a blank check for annual maintenance and assessment fees. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. For 15 years, I've helped over 50,000 families cancel their timeshare. Not sell it, not transfer it, cancel it. Did you buy a timeshare because they told you it was a great investment and your maintenance fees would never go up? That's a lie. Are you ready to get rid of your timeshare once and for all? Simply call us and I'll send you our timeshare exit kit that explains all your options for cancellation.
Call Wesley now for your timeshare exit kit. 800-979-3535. That's 800-979-3535. 800-979-3535.
Hi, this is Doug Wright. I've recently seen two just delightful plays at Hale Center Theater. One is called Peter Pan Goes Wrong. When a local drama company stages Peter Pan, the stalwart thespians and crew face about any disaster or mishap that you can imagine. And their distress and their consternation fuels our delight and laughter. This is so much fun, and I challenge you not to laugh. And plus, my favorite radio station even gets a nod in this ill-fated production. And then, on the brand new Beehive stage, two local playwrights, Fox and Dietline, have a brand new musical, Hallmarked. It includes tidbits of every Hallmark movie plot you have ever seen. A young woman heads to Vermont to save a floundering reality cooking show, but she's determined not to be Hallmarked. You're going to love the play. You're going to love the music. Get your tickets at hct.org. Don't forget, Hunchback of Notre Dame coming up on March 9th.
Hi, I'm Utah tax attorney Jordan Wilcox. When the IRS invades your life, it's never good news. Keep in mind, it's not just you.
I owed roughly $34,000. $61,000.
When the IRS first contacted me, I was horrified.
When they start hounding you and harassing you and assaulting you.
Don't face the IRS alone. With everything in your life at stake, don't trust just anyone.
From what I got told was being done in a matter of 2 years, he had done in a matter of like 48 hours.
It's a great thing to have the IRS off your back.
We have reduced our tax liability by over $42,000.
Once I signed on with Jordan, I never talked to the IRS again.
It changed our lives.
You need someone to fight for you. Visit endtaxworry.com and get relief today. Let's solve your tax problems now. Visit endtaxworry.com. That's endtaxworry.com.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by UCCU. Up to $500 for loan transfers. Love where you bank. Here's Cormac Bone.
We do still have the crash westbound I-215 south belt just after Highland Drive. They are no longer blocking that right lane, though, so it looks like the delays have cleared out. In Davis and Weber County, though, we do have some I-15 delays. Southbound I-15, a little bit heavy going from Farmington into Centerville, right at the West Davis Highway merge. Looks like it's just merging issues there. We don't see a crash in the cameras. And northbound I-15 in the construction zone through Roy near 5600 South, also seeing just a little bit of slowdowns. No matter the weather, your feet can feel fantastic. Find the Good Feet location nearest you at goodfeet.com. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
We're looking at a high of 67 today. Tomorrow, things cool to the upper 50s, but after that, we can see temperatures reach 70 degrees. Right now, it is 61 and fair. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
So we are back, and as we mentioned with our last guest, yesterday was International Women's Day. This whole month of March is Women's History Month. And we have with us on the line Dr. Susan Madsen. She's the Utah Women in Leadership Project founder and the director and the USU Extension Professor of Leadership up at Utah State. Thanks for joining us, Dr. Madsen.
Great to be back here.
I'm wondering if you could talk to us just about thoughts about where we have come, I guess, for women, both internationally, nationally, and in Utah, and where we still need to go. It's only a small ask.
Only a small ask.
That's a huge question.
You have 10 minutes.
Okay, small question.
Right before I got on, though, I was thinking it really has been only the last 5, 6, 7 years that we've talked about International Women's Day here in the state of Utah. It's been celebrated all over the world really since 1909. But really, in the United States, it's been so much later. And in Utah, it hasn't been that long, Holly. You probably remember that we just didn't celebrate it. So I've been thinking about what a great thing that we talk about this in the state of Utah now, because, women in the state of Utah, but we have and can have more of an international presence for us as women here in the state, in our businesses and in our research, things that we do. We can have more of a presence in the global economy and just globally.
Well, I would agree with that. This is Steve Handy sitting in today, Dr. Madsen.
Great.
You and I have met before, but
yes.
Yeah, and Utah is good heavens, is an international state. The global reach of the LDS Church, the people in and out, the Olympics 2002 coming, all of the things, the businesses here. So that it's kind of a no-brainer to me. So glad we're talking about this.
Yeah, back to Holly's question really quick. I actually have written a book on women in leadership internationally and global women. It's been a few years since I published those books. And so it's interesting to look at different countries and the progress that's made. And in fact, as Scandinavian countries have been at the forefront of really women in political roles, women using their voice, women, taking on topics, women and men taking on topics like reducing violence and so forth. But every place, Holly, back to your question, every place is still working on a lot of challenges and some opportunities for women around the world.
So what work still needs to be done? In fact, maybe let me narrow the question a little bit. We had you on last week, and we were talking about a study that came out from Wallet Hub, and you were breaking down the numbers for us. There's some places where Utah does pretty well with women. Can we start there, and then we can go to what we still need to do?
Well, there's only a few places women are doing well in the state of Utah. I am laughing out of sadness in some ways. And one of those, really, we do in physical fitness and activities and those kinds of things, we rate high. And we are so proud to really have service and volunteerism. Those are the things that we really shine specifically with women. We have made progress. We've been really low, like in STEM areas, and still have a lot of work to do, but we've seen some movement there. Also, on the political front, we're still behind, but we've made some progress, especially in a 10-year period in terms of the percentage of women who are serving as mayors. And our state legislature kind of goes up and down, but compared to at least 20 years ago or even 10, we have some additional seats. So there's a few areas within political and then health and service that we really are doing well.
Yeah, I live in Davis County, Dr. Metz, and we have a whole host of women mayors, and they are just absolutely great. Just love associating with them. They're doing a great job. Yeah, you bet. It's great.
So the ones that, of course, I say this often, that I'm most concerned with is the whole chunk of violence, child sexual abuse, domestic violence, sexual assault. We are high. And a lot of religious states that are more religious are high as well. So we're not the only ones. So, but those are big concerns that we need to bring down. And then I guess if I had to choose one other one, it would be some of our health areas. Prevention, women's preventative health care. We're always like 46th. I mean, and then, we're higher on depression rates and very low on mammography rates, women getting their mammograms. So if I had to choose two to mention in this quick show right now, those would be the two. Let's work to get those violence rates down and work to get more women in to get their preventative care exams.
I want to ask you just a quick follow-up then on the preventative care. Why is it that we can have generally good health, but we don't go do the preventative stuff?
It's something we've been wrestling with for a while. I wrote a piece, I can't remember if it was in the Tribune or the Deseret News a while back, on women having the illusion of choice. I don't know if you remember that. And there's just, I really think, and this is opinion, not research, but I really think that sometimes we hear these often we hear these messages of, and you hear them on Mother's Day, right? That women sacrifice, and we just think about everybody else but ourselves. Well, I sometimes wonder if that's a piece of it. If we say, in fact, I've had some physicians tell me that's what women have told them, that I don't have time. I need to take my kids to their sports. I need to do this and this. I'm fine. Everything's okay.
In other words, they're such a caregiver that, inherently a caregiver that, everything's going to be okay, but I'm going to take care of the rest of my family.
Yeah.
And
instead of
if I get time, I might get around to it, and what can happen is that things can happen and get away from them.
Yeah.
That's how I ended up with type 2 diabetes.
Oh.
Me personally.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. I can understand
So
that.
you get it. You get it.
Well, yeah. I mean, I understand.
It's the
I understand that
oxygen
idea.
mask.
Yeah, exactly.
It's the oxygen mask, though, on the airplane. We have to take good care of ourselves, which is interesting because we're okay on physical fitness, yet these other things we're not. So I need somebody to help with a good study in that area to figure out what's going on.
So we only have about 30 seconds left. What are some final thoughts on the status of women in Utah?
Well, I think we've got a lot of work to do, and what we need is more allies in the legislature, more men like Scott and Greg who feel like they've got their pulse on some of the challenges and support this. We've just got to do better in Utah, and we need to make sure that we believe women. And believe that the situation is occurring. We can look at the statistics and we know, but we have to be more firm on saying this matters. Our families matter, our children, our spouses matter, and we need to do something about it.
All right. Thank you so much. That was Dr.
Couldn't say
Susan
it better
Madsen.
than that, Holly.
Yeah. Dr. Madsen is the Utah Women on Leadership Project founder and director, the founder and director, and she's up at Utah State. So when we come back, we're going to talk about congressional filings. So we just finished the legislative session, Steve, and we now filings open today for the new congressional seats, and they have all week to file. There are some names we know, there are some names being rumored, and there will always be surprises. We're going to talk about that when we come back.
Hi, this is Derek Overstreet, president of the New Millennium Group and co-host of Stop Working, Start Living with KSL News Radio. Can you imagine what your life would be like if you could retire 3 to 5 years earlier than you thought possible? The things you could do, the loved ones you could spend time with, the memories that you could create. That's what our team at the New Millennium Group does. We'll walk you through the entire process every step of the way. If you'd like to get a copy of the 5-step proprietary plan that will help you retire 3 to 5 years sooner than you thought possible, give us a shout right now. 888-999-6370. That's 888-999-6370 or utahsfinancialplanner.com. Listen, most of our listeners right now have a tax problem, not a money problem. There's not enough money in Social Security Medicare as it is. Let us show you how you can significantly reduce your taxes. That's 888-999-6370, 888-999-6370, or utahsfinancialplanner.com.
Did you know your baby might need their first dental visit sooner than you think? Did you know your baby should visit the dentist after their first tooth appears or by their first birthday? Keep your family healthy. Your smile matters. Babies can get cavities as soon as they have teeth. Bad bacteria can be transferred to a baby's mouth through unwashed spoons or pacifiers. Pacifiers dipped in sugar or sweetened drinks can also cause cavities. Prevention begins by using a small, soft toothbrush and a little fluoride toothpaste. Grain of rice size ages 1 to 2 and a pea size ages 3 to 6. Practice with your baby before their first dental exam. A dental professional can give you the best advice to keep your baby healthy and smiling. If you don't have a dentist, visit yoursmileutah.org for more information on community dental services. This message brought to you by Utah Oral Health Coalition, Utah Dental Association, University of Utah School of Dentistry, the Utah Department of Health and Human Services, and other Utah health partners. Remember, a healthy smile means a healthier life.
Your smile matters.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
Couponing. Wow, you didn't strike me as the coupon type.
Just trying to stay ahead of inflation. Gas, groceries, everything. It's all more expensive. I need to save wherever I can.
Have you tried Upside yet?
Upside? What's that?
It's a free app that I use that pays cash back for every gallon of gas I buy. You've got to buy gas to get around anyway. Might as well get paid for it.
Come on, does that really add up to anything?
I've already made around $200. The extra cash helped pay down my bills, and I even had a little extra left to treat myself.
And the Upside app is free?
Totally free, and the cash back is real. You can transfer the cash right to your bank account.
I'm downloading Upside right now.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code ENJOY to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, to PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code ENJOY for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
There's something about this time of year when it's easy to get the blahs. The holidays are in the rearview mirror. Even Valentine's Day is in the rearview mirror. It's time to put a little sparkle in your life, and that's Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And here along the Wasatch Front, we have 2 locations. Hotel Park City. If you're up enjoying a day of skiing, wrap up that day with a delicious meal at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And then, of course, there are great fun activities that are happening in downtown Salt Lake City, sporting events, movies, you name it. And again, right there at 275 Southwest Temple, there's a Ruth's Chris Steakhouse waiting for you. The food is prepared perfectly and delivered on that 500-degree sizzling plate. Whether it's a steak, poultry dish, seafood, everything cooked to your expectations at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse. And the side dishes and the desserts, they are simply legendary. Downtown Salt Lake City and Hotel Park City, Ruth's Chris Steakhouse.
You took the first step and quit smoking, but even former smokers may still be at risk for lung cancer. That's why SaveByTheScan.org wants you to know about a new low-dose CT scan that can detect lung cancer early. It takes only 60 seconds and could save your life. You took the first step, now take the next. Visit SaveByTheScan.org for a simple quiz to see if you're eligible and talk to your doctor about screening. SaveByTheScan.org is brought to you by the American Lung Association's Lung Force Initiative and the Ad Council.
The new Inside Sources.
Well, if you haven't had enough politics, I've got some more for you. So I'm Holly Richardson. My co-host today is Steve Handy, a former legislator. He knows elections as well. And we just, like on this show, we have talked, it feels like even to me, forever about redistricting and what are the congressional districts going to look like in the state of Utah. Well, we know what they are. And we're going to have a donut hole. That's going to be number 1, CD number 1. Number 2 is up in the north now, so like the northern part of the state. Number 3, interestingly, goes down the east side of the state and takes part of Salt Lake County, part of Utah County, and then like that whole bottom portion, St. George-ish. And then CD4 has some of Utah County also and is out over on the west side. And now we know what the districts are. We're going to learn who the candidates are.
That's exactly right, Holly. And I think filing begins today, goes for 5 days this week. And this is you might think, okay, the legislature's over 45 days, take a deep breath of relief. No. The busy political season is just going
starting.
This with this. All of the caucus things are coming up.
Yeah.
March 17th is caucus night and all the training that's going on and everything like that, and the county conventions, the state convention. But this is really interesting. The legislature, remember, moved back because there was uncertainty about what the districts were, the court cases back and forth, the lawsuits, and they moved back to now, hoping that they could get resolution. Well, they didn't get resolution.
Well, they did. It just wasn't the way some of them were hoping.
It wasn't the way they were hoping.
Yeah.
And so now, what do we know about who's filing? I mean, we know that Burgess Owens is retiring.
That's right. So he is going to retire. We know that Blake Moore is going to run in the new CD2, Congressional District 2, so that northern
it's
portion.
Always been the traditional first district. Now it's the second district.
Right, exactly. But the district that he currently represents, and because it's redistricted, there are changes, right? But that northern portion, Blake Moore will file for that. Celeste Malloy is going to file. She's the current incumbent for the St. George area. She's going to file for the new CD3. And then Mike Kennedy is going to file for CD4. So there are going to be some changes in who they represent in Utah County and Salt Lake County. But what's interesting is we already have in that donut hole district that is probably going to elect a Democrat, we have a number of people who have filed there. We have Ben McAdams,
former congressman.
There. Yep. In fact, he lost to Burgess Owens.
Yeah, one term Ben.
So he's gonna file there. I think he was gonna file today. We also have Nate Bluen, state senator. We also have Kathleen Reeby, another state senator. There's a couple of people that are active in either city or county politics who are also announced that they were going to file. My guess is we'll end up with maybe 7 or 8 Democrats in that race. And we already have a couple of Republicans as well. So we have Dave Robinson from Salt Lake County, and then there's another younger candidate, and I'm forgetting his name, so he'll probably let me know what it is soon if he's listening to the show.
We'll get a text, but anyway, that's okay.
What's interesting too to me is we already have rumors. This is a rumored one. Carrie Ann Lisenby is going to file, we hear, for Congressional District 2 against Blake Moore.
She lives in Syracuse, Clearfield area, Syracuse.
And
so
remember,
she would be in 2. Yes.
You don't have to live in the district you represent.
That's exactly right. This is the wild west right now. That
Congress.
used to be controversial.
I know.
Not anymore.
Not anymore. That was Jason Chaffetz who broke that mold.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then we have Phil Lyman, who is filing to run against Celeste Malloy.
That's right.
So in the Republican race, what's interesting to me is Phil. So Phil ran for governor against Spencer Cox. He also was in the Utah House for a while, and he has been pretty stridently anti-signature, pro-convention path, but he has said he's going to collect signatures. So is Celeste Malloy. That's an effort to get on the ballot.
Guarantees them the primary ballot in June.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
So convention, as you mentioned, is coming up before that are the caucuses, and that's March 17th. So that's like what? Next week, maybe?
Next week like that. And I think that April 11th is the deadline for signature verification, turn them in, verify.
Because the convention is the 25th.
Yeah.
Both Democrats and Republicans will be April 25th
Right.
for that. So those are some of the rumored ones. I have not heard a lot of rumors about Mike Kennedy's district. So the one that he has filed to or going to file to run in CD4. I haven't heard a lot of potential candidates there, but at least 2 in the one that's down south, CD3, at least 2 up north, and I don't know, probably 10 or 12 in the new district.
In the new district, in the Donut Hole District 1.
And I told you there would be somebody who would let me know who the younger candidate is. His name is Riley Owens. So
thank you.
Thank you for
letting us know.
That was the Attorney General who let me know.
Oh, thank you for letting us know, Derek.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah.
So it's interesting, right? And one of the things that I have always thought is going to be difficult for these congressional candidates is, first of all, not having certainty until really, really recently about where the district outlines were going to be. So who are your voters going to be and who do you have to campaign to? But the other part is just launching a campaign with a really short window between now and convention.
That's exactly right. The campaign consultants are lining up. Of course, they've already had them lined up. And they've already had them lined up, and they're working hard. They're figuring that these are seasoned. The incumbents, the 3 incumbents. I mean, Mike Kennedy's his first, but they're seasoned politicos. Can we say that? And they know what they're doing, and they've been talking about this. I'm very interested, though, someday to learn what were the backdoor conversations, behind closed door conversations between Celeste Malloy, Mike Kennedy, and Burgess Owens and Blake Moore about who's going to stay in, who might step out.
I bet they never tell us.
I bet they never tell us, but that's why I'm just curious.
So,
I know what happened.
Yeah, interesting. And one of the things that happens with caucus and convention, and this may already be happening anyway, but a lot of times candidates try to get, quote, their people to show up and get elected, right? And so there's usually a lot more lead-up time to doing that. Well, it's next week. And so it may be that there are more open seats for people who show up to their caucuses on caucus night on the 17th.
Well, let's say this: when Greg comes back, there's going to be a lot for you two to talk about. There's going to be no lack of subject matter for you two to talk about politically.
It for sure is interesting. And one of the things I mentioned leading into this segment is that there will be some surprises. I don't know who the surprises are. That's why it'll be a surprise. But it seems to me that there's always some surprise, right? You get to the end of filing maybe, and sometimes it's a last minute, the deadline's 5 o'clock, so 4:45 somebody will file, and you'll say, I did not see that person jumping in. That's so interesting, right? We had conversations, Greg Skordas and I, about how if you get too many people in a race, especially with an incumbent, it favors the incumbent because it splits the vote.
Splits the votes.
For the anti-incumbent sentiment, right? So if you have only the incumbent and one other person, you may then consolidate those votes. If you've got 2 or 3 or 4 people running against an incumbent, you're going to split those votes amongst the challengers, which tend typically to favor the incumbent. So we'll see.
We will see. It is going to be very interesting. So everyone, keep your seatbelts buckled tightly.
Yeah. So I just want to talk briefly about Celeste Malloy. So she last time. She ended up replacing, if you remember, Chris Stewart when Chris Stewart stepped down to be able to help care
on his staff.
She was, and very qualified, but she was his replacement. And then her first full campaign, she had a very, very tight primary with somebody from Southern Utah who's now, I think, been pulled up into the administration. And then the Phil Lyman, he's very, very popular with delegates. He's very popular as pro-Trump, but so is Celeste. And so then you start to play off each other. Well, then do you get into is Donald Trump going to endorse? And if he does, who is he going to endorse? That's always an interesting question, too. So I think also people need to know that there are 90 contested seats for the state legislature out of 104.
Is that right?
Yeah.
I hadn't seen that. 90 contested.
Yeah. And some of them are in, heavily Democratic districts or heavily Republican districts. And so maybe it's a little less competitive than we think. But they had to file before the session started. In fact, they had to file right after the beginning of the new year.
Exactly right.
And so those campaigns are underway. I hope they at least get to sleep in one day. Did you get to sleep in one day on Saturday? You didn't even get to sleep in on Sunday because we went to daylight saving time. So legislators,
so true.
Put your running shoes on. So look, when we come back, I wanted to talk to you about this. America's turning 250 this year, meaning from the time the Declaration of Independence was signed. And I wanted to get an update from you and from your daughter-in-law about how Utah is going to celebrate that. So stay with us over the break.
.30 at KSL News Radio. My name is Claire Scott. Our top story this hour. The widow of a man killed at the No Kings rally in Salt Lake City last summer is suing the protest organizers. The lawsuit filed on behalf of Laura Alou claims the protest was ill-prepared and had armed volunteers without the proper vetting or training. One of these volunteers is Matthew Alder, the man charged in the death of Afa Alou. His widow says there had been better planning and training. None of this would have happened. Our top national story this hour from ABC News. The United States says it has intercepted a message believed to have originated in Iran about activating sleeper cells here in the U.S.
They don't have any operational information that something is about to happen or that some location is being targeted, but they want law enforcement agencies across the country to be vigilant in case this does happen. And of course, this has been one of the concerns in the immediate wake of what happened last week with the United States and Israel launching their attack on Iran.
ABC News Pentagon reporter Luis Martinez there. Your money at this moment, the Dow is down 471 points. The S&P is down 39 points. And coming up, highs in the 70s. KSL weather is next. KSL News Time, 11:31.
Mornings are for recharging.
And they're for starting your day right.
We volunteer to join you in the car. Get news and weather at 102.7 FM during the most important part of your day.
Andy and Amanda, each morning between 5 and 9 on KSL News Radio.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today. 1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Ready to get rid of that old car? Donate it to Cars for Kids. Call 877 Cars for Kids to speak to a friendly live agent. Donation is super easy, and your car can be picked up as soon as tomorrow. Go to carsforkids.org now or call 877 Cars for Kids to donate your car today.
1877 Cars for Kids. KARS Cars for Kids. 1877 Cars for Kids. Donate your car today.
Did you know you can donate real estate too? Go to carsforkids.org. That's cars with a K.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our clients' portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
Only one type of burger. For every pallet. Fries are extra. Large in size. We've got the shakes. Going over the brim.
Hey, this is Chris from JCW's. Put a positive, delicious spin on your day at any one of our 5 locations. In Lehigh, American Fork, Provo, South Jordan, or Harriman. JCW's, quality and a lot of it.
Business technology has changed a lot over the last. As the years have passed, there's been one constant. And after 70 years and still counting, Les Olson IT is here with the technology and the people to make life easier, more productive, and more secure. Let Les be here for you.
Traffic and weather together every 10 minutes on the 9s, brought to you by UCCU. Earn 4.24% on savings at uccu.com. Here's Cormac Bone.
The delays that we had on I-15 in Weber and Davis counties have cleared, and we did have a crash on I-215 southbound. That's also since cleared off the road, so no delays there either. Where we do have a new crash, though, this is State Street northbound in Sandy, just at 1100 South. They were blocking a right lane and shoulder. Now it looks like they might just be blocking the right turn lane, so just be careful. Give them the space as you get around them so they can work in cleaning up that crash. Cormac Bone in the KSL Traffic Center.
Highs in the upper 60s today, then down to 50s tomorrow. After that, it's back to the 60s and even 70s nearing the weekend. Right now it is 61 and fair. I'm Claire Scott from the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios. Listen online at kslnewsradio.com. We're Utah's news, traffic, and weather station.
The all-new Inside Sources. Your inside access to the people and policies shaping Utah's future. Here are Greg Skordas and Holly Richardson on KSL News Radio.
Well, we're back, and we wanted to talk about America 250. It's the big birthday celebration for the Declaration of Independence that happened, of course, in 1776. And, you know, Steve, I was just telling you, I went to Roots Tech this last week, and one of the things that they had in the display hall was really, like, I'm holding my hands out because I can't talk without using my hands anyway, but
Yeah.
a really, really big display about America 250 right there at Roots Tech, right? It's a really, really big deal, and I know that you're part of that, and you have another connection as part of that. So tell us about it.
Tell us about it. Yeah, this is terrific. So I've had a great opportunity. I was appointed by Governor Cox along with some other people, a lot of other great people. Christine Durham, we've talked about her. She's one of our co-chairs. And Ron Fox and Mindy Benson from SUU, president. They're the 3 co-chairs. I was appointed to the America 250 Commission. And as you know, well, you might not know, but Congress established a commission for this year and then encouraged the states to establish that. So Utah got a real good jump on this. And we have on the line the executive director, Nicole Handy. Hello, Nicole. Happens to be my daughter-in-law, married to our son, Garrett. They have 4 amazing children. I didn't get Nicole's job for her. She got it herself, but she's doing an amazing job. And Nicole, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions about how things are rolling out. I mean, and I want to talk about America's Potluck. That's your idea. That's going to be very fun.
I love it.
Very fun. So how are things going, Nicole?
Doing well. Yeah, we're excited about everything that is rolling out, especially all the support that we're getting here in Utah, both within the state and nationally, how we're stepping up. So thanks for having me.
We had a commission meeting on February 19th. I've had my folder. I'm just looking at the agenda. And it was very exciting to see. I know that we've been rolling out to have cities and counties sign up for the toolkit, and then they've been getting a grant to be able to do their own celebrations. Of course, we're not mandating anything, just providing kind of the framework and attention to that. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we recognize that there are things that are happening nationally, and we can touch on that, but that really most Utahns will celebrate the 250th in their local communities, and that there's an opportunity there to focus on what happens there and how each community, whether it's your city, your county, contributes to that American story. So we're working with over 100, I think almost 150 municipalities, so all 29 counties and other cities. We've given them a small grant, but most cities have, kind of burned through that and are using this opportunity over the next year to plan events and find ways to celebrate within their community locally. And sometimes it's quilt shows. I just saw this amazing quilt show from Garfield County.
Yes, I saw that story.
Did you see it? Yeah, it's
amazing.
Photo contests. It's elevating what they usually do in July. So we're excited about everything that's happening at a local level. It's hard for us to even keep track of everything that's happening.
So, Nicole, I'm super interested in what Steve mentioned just as he was introducing you about America's Potluck. So I'm all about food. It was, in fact, as an adoptive mom with kids who were really, really hungry in orphanages, it became my love language. So I show love through food and feeding people. So tell us about the potluck.
Oh, I love it. Yes. So, when we started planning, we knew that we had 3 pillars that we really wanted to focus on. It was to educate, engage, and unite. And we created 6 signature programs as part of that, but we really tried to figure out how are we going to bring people together around this anniversary and how do we commemorate? And we came up with this idea of having a potluck. And we said, let's do it the day after the anniversary so we can do our big celebrations on the 4th. And let's just ask Utahns to share a meal with their neighbor on Sunday, July 5th. And then what's actually exciting about it is that in 2024, we were back in D.C. with the other states at a convening, and we mentioned this, and there was enough excitement that it became America's Potluck, and we now have potlucks in all 50 states. But Utah is leading out on this.
Congratulations.
So, yeah, we're excited about it. And it's an easy entry. It's a nice way. People are looking for connection, and it's a way to come together and share stories and enjoy each other as part of the anniversary.
Holly, Nicole has had me on a subcommittee about the America's Potluck, and so we've had a lot of Utah chefs. And I remember the first one of our first meetings. We'll go around and circle and tell about what your favorite July 4th, hamburgers and hot dogs and apple pie. But these chefs are preparing some unique dishes, right, Nicole, that will be on the website that people can decide. Let's try that for my neighborhood get together.
Yeah, food obviously is this discussion that they love. So one of our first national partners is America's Test Kitchen. So they're a PBS affiliate, and they're creating recipes for each state. And of course, for Utah, they have picked funeral potatoes, which feels very fitting to start the discussion.
Yeah.
But we've also talked about what other foods in Utah represent us, and we feel like cherries is one that we should lean into. It feels so Americana, but is also Utah's like the second highest producer of sour cherries. So we've kind of tried to lean into that. So we're working with Associated Foods and Smith's, who will be kind of gathering recipes for us to put on our website, but they'll also be promoting it within their stores, along with to your earlier point, Holly, about the food bank. We're working with the food bank, trying to find ways using those grocery stores to engage those that have food insecurity so that all Utahns can really participate in this as well.
I love it. What else, and we only have a couple of minutes left, but what else can Utahns look forward to or, quote, should they be involved in? Yeah,
one of our initiatives we have K-12 resources. So anyone with school children, please look there and see those. We have an exhibit up at the Capitol that's also traveling to all 29 counties. But right now, we really we have more daylight. We're encouraging all Utahns to get out and walk or roll 250 miles this year as part of the 250th. Enjoy Utah's landscape, make those connections with your neighbor. And so we have, you can pick up a starter sticker set at libraries, Zions Banks, at state parks, and then sign up on our website, and we'll keep you going throughout that, and we'll have some prizes. But it's a way to get out and enjoy Utah, what's uniquely Utah, and commemorate.
Yeah, I'm holding the Walk 250 sheet with the stickers on it that I'm holding up and showing Holly.
Yeah.
It's in my folder, and it's very, very, very fun. You know, you can walk or roll or whatever, complete miles with your friend. It's a neat thing.
250 miles sounds like a lot.
Well, you do it. You have a whole year to do it. Well, not now.
Yeah.
But you can just
you can
just
roll
keep going.
on those.
Yeah.
We've made it inclusive with skiing and all those. The other way that people can celebrate, if that is not quite it, is service. We're calling this a year of celebration and service. And nationally, there's an initiative called America Gives. They want this to be the largest year of service hours given, and they're actually collecting service hours and working really closely with Just Serve as one of their kind of founding sponsors. And here in Utah, we're actually offering a certificate. So if you work with a youth group, or even just have an individual, or would like the recognition yourself, if you put in 5 hours this year, you can fill that out, and the lieutenant governor will have a letter for you and a certificate. So we're hoping that people can find any way, lean into however you can contribute to your community to commemorate.
I love it. Thank you so much, Nicole. That was Nicole Handy,
Terrific. Thank you.
Commission Director of Utah 250. And you can go to the website, which is america250.utah.gov.
Yeah.
Now, we've got some breaking news. We have just learned that the proposal that passed right after the clock struck midnight on the last day of the legislative session, HB 212, will not be going through. President Stuart Adams just sent out a notification that upon further review, HB 212 did not pass within the constitutionally required time frame, and we'll talk about that when we come back.
Tim Jr. here from RGS Exteriors. Did you know that we offer 3 distinct styles of gutter protection? Each one meant to handle a specific leaf problem. You might not even know there are different styles of gutter protection, but there are. And if you pick the wrong one, it could be a huge waste of money. Now, the big gutter guard companies won't tell you this. They try to sell you a one-size-fits-all gutter guard. And it could be completely wrong for the amount and types of trees and leaves you have. Not RGS Exteriors. We understand which kind of leaf problem needs which kind of gutter guard. We'll do an in-depth evaluation to assess the types, locations, and numbers of trees in your yard. Based on that data, we match your home to the right gutter guard. So don't risk wasting money on the wrong gutter protection. For a free evaluation and estimate, call RGS Exteriors at 801-280-3110 or visit rgsexteriors.com. That's 801-280-3110 or rgsexteriors.com.
KSL Broadcast Group contests are open to participants 18 years of age and older that are residents of Utah, unless otherwise specified. Employees or agents of the station, Bonneville International Corporation, other area radio stations, or any entity associated with the contest may not enter. Persons who have won in the last 30, 60, or 90 days from a station contest or event may not be eligible. Full general contest rules are available at kslnewsradio.com/contests.
Are your investments in the right accounts? What's best, traditional or Roth? Are you receiving all available tax deductions? Are you paying as little in tax as you can? These are all questions you can't afford to get wrong. Hi, I'm Jeff Jr., founder of Trajan Wealth, and in many cases, it's not what you make, but it's what you keep that makes the real difference. Trajan Wealth and Trajan Tax work closely together exclusively. No more guessing about whether you should do a Roth conversion, or if maxing out your 401k is really the best option. A Our nationally recognized fiduciary advisors and CPA team work in tandem to make sure your tax strategy works with your investment strategy. We'll even do your tax preparation. One team, one strategy. Isn't it time for a second opinion? Call Trajan today, 801-207-9900. That's 801-207-9900.
Trajan Wealth, an SEC registered investment advisor. Additional services through Trajan Estate and Trajan Tax. Additional disclosures and accreditation at TrajanWealth.com.
Need life insurance but have diabetes, high blood pressure, or on anxiety meds? If you're a 50-year-old male, even porky, or with type 2 diabetes, $1 million of life insurance may only cost you about $200 a month. For affordable term life insurance, call Term Provider and speak with Big Lou at 800-777-1225. 800-777-1225 or visit biglou.com. Remember, Big Lou's like you. He's on meds too. 800-777-1225.
Finding great candidates to hire can be like, well, trying to find a needle in a haystack, but not with ZipRecruiter. Its powerful technology actively finds and invites qualified candidates to apply to your job. So while other companies might deliver a lot of hay, ZipRecruiter finds you the needle in the haystack.
See why 4 out of 5 employers who post a job on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. Try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/free. That's ZipRecruiter.com/free.
ZipRecruiter. This is Derek Miller speaking on business. American Legion Utah Boys State gives high school juniors leadership, teamwork, and civic skills, teaching government firsthand and building confidence to become engaged, informed citizens and future leaders in Utah and beyond. Department of Utah Commander John Robertson joins us with more.
Utah Boys State is more than just a summer program. It's a dynamic, hands-on civics immersion workshop that has been shaping future leaders for over 80 years. Students dive into a fast-paced 6.5-day program packed with real-world government simulations, debates, and leadership challenges. Students learn by doing, gaining first-hand experience in self-governance, public speaking, and the legislative process. Through teamwork, debate, and community engagement, students develop essential skills. Graduates receive 3 transferable college credits, giving them a head start on their academic journey, and they enjoy first in-line access to Weber State University scholarships, bonus points on Service Academy applications, and favorable consideration for internships and graduate programs.
By empowering young leaders, American Legion Utah Boys State strengthens communities across Utah. Graduates carry their skills, confidence, and civic-minded values into schools, workplaces, and neighborhoods. Discover how the program continues shaping futures at utahboysstate.org. I'm Derek Miller with the Salt Lake Chamber, speaking on business.
Any Hour Services free furnace sale is going on right now. If you haven't scheduled your free estimate yet, do it now. Call Any Hour Services today or schedule online at anyhourservices.com.
Inside Sources.
So just into the newsroom, as I let listeners know right before we went to break, is President Stuart Adams made a statement on the status of HB 212. So my guest host today is Steve Handy. And Steve, we talked about this at the beginning of our show, and that's the bill that would have allowed South Salt Lake County to secede.
Right, that's what we
set
talked
up
about.
a process.
Right,
but it's the problem is that it passed. It looked like a couple of seconds after midnight. So do you want to tell us about the statement from President Adams?
Well, yeah, and this is exactly what we talked about, and it was my opinion, and I think yours too, that there's no way. I mean, the law is the law, the rules are the rules. Don't bend them like this. Everyone was seeing this. Everyone knows what was going on. You're going to have if you want to do it, have a special session, which they will sometime. But President Adams sent out this a release that he just said that after further consideration, we've determined that it did not pass with the constitutionally required time frame. Yeah, time frame is the key point here. Sign a die, midnight.
Yeah.
They didn't cover no covering the clock.
They didn't cover the clock.
No, and so with a few seconds to go, and he was the last one to vote because the speaker, the president, always are the last ones to vote, and then they lock the board. So
after,
oops.
Yeah. Well, it'll probably be revisited.
Yeah.
Right?
Oh yeah,
since
for sure.
It
for
passed, but we'll
for
see.
Sure.
We'll
but
see.
It's just kind of entertaining for today to talk about it.
Well, so what he means by not moving forward is it's not going to land on the governor's desk.
It's not going to land on Governor Cox's desk, so
that's right.
He has one less bill to deal with.
So now he only has 543.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, 20 days.
Yeah, and one of the things that's interesting that when I first started following Utah politics that I thought was super interesting is he actually has 3 things that he can do with bills. He can sign them into law, which is, of course, the vast majority.
Yeah.
He can veto, but he can also allow a bill to go into law without his signature.
It's kind of a silent protest.
It is. It's a silent protest. It's not as strong as a veto. And, there may be a variety of political considerations, but bills can go into effect without the governor signing it. And they do.
And they do.
Yeah.
That can happen.
So I wanted to tell you some of our fun facts today. And today, first of all, I wanted to tell you over the weekend, we have a couple of small dogs. They're only about 10 or 11 pounds. And one of them was outside on Saturday morning and Sunday morning. He was losing his mind. Like he was just barking. So I go to the back door and I look and he's looking up and I'm like, what are you looking at? And then I look and it's a hot air balloon and it's on its way down to land in our yard.
Wow.
And it was so close. It didn't end up landing in our yard. They were able to get it up over the fence and they landed in the street just behind our house. But they were so close that I said hi and waved to the people in the basket. They yelled back, hi. And I'm like, you can land in our yard if you want to because it's big enough, right? And they're like, we're trying to make it to the street.
Yeah.
And they did. But that was how close it was. We had to bring the little dog into the house because I thought he was going to have a heart attack.
He was traumatized over that.
He was traumatized.
Phineas Fogg, right? Landing right
That's
in your,
right.
right in your yard.
That's right. So today is National Barbie Day. So it was on this day.
Who knew?
I did, actually.
Okay.
But it was on this day in 1959, the original Barbie doll was introduced. And if you remember, it was supposed to be an alternative to just the baby dolls and something for girls to maybe aspire to. So we also know that Barbie has undergone many changes over the years. But one of the things that I included in the Utah Policy newsletter today was a quote from the Barbie movie because it was just so poignant to many women, I think, in the United States at the time. Because this is the human character who's talking to Barbie, who's supposed to be the doll character. And she says, this is part of the speech. It's literally impossible to be a woman. You are so beautiful and so smart, and it kills me that you don't think you're good enough. Like we always have to be extraordinary, but somehow we're always doing it wrong. And it turns out, in fact, that not only are you doing everything wrong, but also everything is your fault. And then she says, if that is true for a doll, like just imagine how we're feeling, right? So I remember loving that when I saw that movie because it's so encapsulated. Sometimes it feels like the line that sometimes women tread. And you know, Steve, that
Quite
I have
a statement,
big family and
Yeah, I do.
I stayed home to take care of my kids.
do know
And yet there are still people who are like, well, being a stay-at-home mom is a drain on society. And then other people who are like, well, why don't you do anything besides just stay at home? Okay, well, you can't win.
Yeah, that's a bizarre little comment. And going back to our conversation with Dr. Madsen, and also with Robin Ritchie, that's quite a statement.
So
a lot of things today.
So did you have anything interesting over the weekend?
My biggest failure over the weekend was that I was going to go skiing and sort of waited too long and it got away from me. And I really regret that because I don't know, the storms aren't really lining up here and it's going to be a little bit tough. I missed a great opportunity and it's the way it goes.
Well, it is definitely spring. So I have a couple of fun facts that happened on this day. So this is March 9th. And on this day, in 1945, March 9th, 1945, Tokyo was firebombed with 334 U.S. B-29 superfortresses and 120,000 firebombs.
It's hard to even get your head around. And then, of course, a little bit after that, Nagasaki and Hiroshima.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
With the A-bombs.
On March 9th in 1954, President Eisenhower criticized Senator Joe McCarthy's approach to, quote, rooting out communists in a letter to a friend. And if you remember, there was like all of this furor
the
about
Red Scare.
Yeah,
the Red
infiltration,
Scare.
right? And it turned out really to be false. And in this one, in 2007, this is interesting too and pertinent to today, but on March 9th, 2007, the U.S. Justice Department released an internal audit that found that the Federal Bureau of Investigation had acted illegally in its use of the Patriot Act to secretly obtain personal information about U.S. citizens. So the Patriot Act was right after 9/11,
Yes,
right?
it was.
And
yes, it was.
I remember at the time, there were people who were like, look, you're trading security for freedom. I don't know if you're going to like where this goes, right? In fact, the wording was a lot stronger than that. You're not going to like where this ends up. And now we have, I mean, we have a lot of things where, interestingly, like license plate readers help capture the guy from the Wayne County murders, right? But do we want all of that information? Do we want to be tracked at every second all the time? We carry our phones. We're GPS tracked all the time, right? If you've got a smartphone. So that was 2007. So really 19 years ago, the Justice Department was like, you can't be using this to get personal information about U.S. citizens. And I think we're way past that point right now.
I think we're way past that point. It was incredibly controversial, and it continues to go on, and we just have to find this balance, and it's very difficult in today's, digitally overloaded world.
Yeah.
Very difficult.
I have one more on this day fact, and this was in 2022. But if you remember, Russian airstrikes hit Mariupol. They hit a hospital, and outside the hospital, they had put like in rocks, children inside, something like that. Well, they bombed it. They hit a hospital, killed a bunch of people while they were trying to, get the people out. And so that was 2022, and here we are. They're still at war, and we're having this conflagration in the Middle East is now pulling Ukraine and Russia in different ways individually. But as we end our show, I have one dad joke.
Okay, let's hear it.
What kind of pickles are best for spring weather?
What kind of pickles are best for spring weather? I don't know.
Daffodils.
Daffodill. Yeah, jokes.
They're dumb,
Nice.
right? They're so dumb. Okay, that's it for Inside Sources today. Thank you, Steve Handy,
It's been a
for
pleasure.
co-hosting.
Thank you, Holly. All the best.
Yeah, it's great. It's great to have you. Midday's up next. Britt Johnson is in for Maria Chaleos. She'll have the latest details on a lawsuit filed by the widow of the man killed during the No Kings protest last year. Stay right here on KSL News Radio.
KSL FM Midvale.
KSL Salt Lake City.
From the KSL Common Spirit Health Studios, this is KSL News Radio.
Utah's news, traffic, and weather station. Good afternoon. KSL News Time, 12 o'clock. This is Midday. I'm Britt Johnson, in for Maria Chaleos. KSL's top story this hour. The widow of the man killed during the No Kings protest last year is now filing a lawsuit, claiming organizers didn't do enough to keep people safe. KSL News Radio's Eric Cabrera is there where the family made the announcement and joins us live. Eric?
Britt, the lawsuit centers on the shooting death of Afa Alu, who investigators say was killed when a volunteer peacekeeper fired a gun into the crowd during the No Kings rally in Salt Lake City. It names accused gunman Matthew Alder and several organizers connected to the rally. Alu's widow Laura says a day hasn't gone by that they haven't felt the effects of that day.
At a time when two of the best kids on earth should be learning to ride bikes with their dad, running into his arms after work or school, and hearing him